And you can try them all.
And no wrong choices.
Well, trying all 500 week one, that could be a bad choice.
World of Beer. Beer as you have never experienced it before.
Come on, bro. That was my tag. Your NFL party awaits you at World of Beer.
World of Beer.
Really?
Football is here. Catch all the UWF Argos games and the big NFL games every Saturday and Sunday on Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. If you would like to be a part of ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000 or visit our website at ESPNpensacola.com.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I am Chapper Leonte. Glad to be here. Today, taking enough like the B12 and lidocaine shots for Roger Clemens. I am got enough medication to go here today, and we'll go for a full round and having fun. Thanks again to Eric and Joe and the guys for hosting yesterday for the sports drive. They sent me home. I was wrapped in a blanket looking like something Cam Newton would wear to a press conference, and they said, Chad, go ahead and go home. So thank you guys for doing that. Glad to be back. This is what I love to do, getting to talk football and have some fun. And how cool is it that I get to talk to an NFL coach each and every day as K. Stevenson. It is his show, Talk Football with Coach K, kind enough to make time with us each and every afternoon from 12 to 1. Coach, it's great to catch up and looking forward to getting to some midseason football awards and breaking down these big games in college football.
Oh, you bet. Good to be with you, Chad. And we do have an awful lot to chat about. There's an awful lot going on in the football world right now, more so than just the obvious.
Looking at one that we've talked about a little, but from what you've heard, and it seems like at this point it's taken. This is very similar to the Urban Meyer story at Ohio State. This was during the offseason, but the situation that was going on with Zach Smith and the charges and then they had that 2-week situation where they were forming a, quote, committee of a bunch of guys that probably went to Ohio State, governors and doctors and people sitting in that room that were like sitting there going, yeah, you know what? He might have done something, but guess what? He's a really good coach, and we can't. So they waited 2 weeks, but I remember the storm, which was the media, every single day. And then they said, we're giving you 2 weeks, and everybody sort of quieted down. Florida State was the hot topic over the last couple days. Well, now it looks like we still have some names popping up in there, but it sort of settled down a little from what it was over the weekend. And, Coach, at this point, I joked with the guys because they were all asking me, what do you know? I was like, look, I talked to 2 people, and I'm done with this Stoops rodeo right now, so I'm going to sit back and eat my popcorn like everybody else and enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's amazing. Any time anything like this happens, speculation abounds, by just about everybody. And so there's certainly nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's a necessity to reveal what you're hearing, what's out there on the grapevine. But you always preface by saying this is not something that I know to be true, or it's a rumor or whatever. And never say never, because never's a long time. I don't think Stoops would end up being the coach there for a number of reasons. But never's a long time. That could end up happening.
And as a coach, I mean, more people know Don Shula's name than your name, and that's not saying that's not a knock, but because of that, but Coach, that for a fact that if you were given the right people, like if you go back in a time machine and one day a Tom Brady appeared on your field, and how you worked with Frank Reich and the guys developed today, you know that sometimes it's the cards you're dealt with as a football coach. You guys all are good. You wouldn't have been there in that situation, whether people yell at the screens or not. You wouldn't be in the National Football League if you didn't know what you're doing. There's a handful of people out of hundreds of millions that watch in bars and restaurants every single week, and you are the guy that had the opportunity to be there. But you know more than ever, is it something that when you look at a head coach, Bob Stoops' name, I just keep hearing people call Bob Stoops and these coaches like, the big names. That's what they want. They need a name. But you got a lot of guys like Mike Norvell or a PJ Fleck who signed a contract extension with Minnesota yesterday, so I think that sort of took it away. But all of this being said, you've got these young, innovative minds. To you, how do you decipher when you're sitting in that room compared to a name, a figurehead, compared to a coach that might be better? Because Stoops, there was a reason that now Lincoln Riley's the head coach in Oklahoma. So what would you say to something like that when people are saying we need a face compared to maybe a coach that is going to be there full term?
I think more so than just a black and white, a face versus a coach, it would be a combination. For example, we need a father figure with this football team in particular. I'm not talking about any one. I'm talking about if we were looking at coaches. We need a father figure, but we've got to have a father figure who knows X's and O's, who can teach X's and O's. He can't just be a figurehead. Like a lot of college coaches don't coach, head coaches. They leave all that to the assistants, and I've got great examples of that. I mean, going back many, many years, they wouldn't even know how to begin to coach or to teach a 1 day's preparation for a game. So what the point I'm getting to, we would look for a combination type guy, right? And I think more so than any one direction. That way, I think now most committees or people involved in hiring coaches look at that composite type coach. Yeah, you want a guy who you'd love a guy to come in like a Belichick or somebody with a great name who's going to give you instant credibility, who's going to give you a tremendous advantage with recruiting and everything else, plus knows all the X's and O's. You'd love to have that. They're few and far between. So few and far between, it's hard to even imagine. So you've got to hit it, but you've got to put a lot of time and work into finding that type guy or guys so that you can make a determination based on 2 or 3 guys.
One thing we do know, it doesn't seem to be the thing that really was going to stand out, and it was the elephant in the room. Sometimes there's one of those situations where you can't touch, a good example would be, the kid that's really terrible growing up in Little League Baseball, but his dad's the coach and he's always pitching. And then you sort of sit there and you can't do anything about it because, if you say that, you look like, you're that dad, but everybody knows he can't throw a strike, but his dad's the coach and he signed, so he doesn't play right field. Well, in this situation where that before the money was a big issue to buy out Willie Taggart, that's a lot of money, 17, 18 million, when they could wait and maybe the more they wait, the less they'd have to pay him each and every game. But it was getting brutal. It was getting bad in that Miami game. A lot of these boosters, alumni, and not just Sarah from Spanx, who end up putting a number of over $12 million is what a couple of the people are saying. But there was a number of boosters that stepped in and said, enough is enough. We're done at this point. Coach, it doesn't seem like now, though, financially, as much as it was at one point, Tallahassee, the folks out there are ready to throw whatever they need to make this happen, according to the reports that I'm getting. I mean, it seems like money is not as much of an issue as it was at one point.
I can certainly accept that, but I will tell you that money that was used to pay off Taggart is money gone. That is nothing that they're going to be able to utilize for the future. Now, it does take the burden off having to take money from an already existing fund. It's new money, but they need an awful lot in the way of, for a top-notch coach Chad, they're going to need an awful lot of money for existing facilities improvements. And as I understand it now, from people who compare their facilities with an Alabama, with a Texas A&M, and I'm not talking about just the stadium. I'm talking about the outdoor arena type thing or indoor practice facility and other amenities they don't have. Plus a coaching staff that a coach is going to, before he takes the job, he's going to say, I want so-and-so. It's going to cost $1.5 million to get him. And I want so-and-so. It's going to cost $600,000 there. So he may have in addition to his salary, may have a payroll that he's going to insist on just for assistant coaches of $3 or $4 million, and also the ancillary people that he may want compared to what they have available right now. Keep in mind, there are hundreds of people around some of these teams that they're paying.
Well, on top of that, too, it's a lot easier to find a coach during the offseason than in midseason, too. I mean, that's the names like Mike Norvell and PJ Flex. These guys some of them are undefeated top 15 teams right now, and they've been working their tails off to get to that point. The last thing they want to hear right now is, hey, we're going to leave you guys high and dry. If you're coaching Minnesota right now, and Fleck doesn't look like he's going after that extension, but, if you would talk to him in a couple weeks after they maybe lose to the Ohio States, the Penn States of the world, it might have been a different story. But right now, probably wasn't the right time. Looking at the situation right now, we'll get to more on that, but let's talk a little. Go to our phone lines at 850-623-1330. Jonah is on the line. Jonah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Good, Jonah.
Yeah, I wanted to say something and hear what y'all thought about it. I do not feel like Coach Sager got a fair shake at the job. I understand that it has been I don't want to say miserable, but not optimal for a second half year. First year was tough to watch, but I just have a hard time believing he was able to implement a lot of the changes he wanted to see with only one recruiting class in. The 3 recruiting classes prior with Jimbo Fisher. I'm trying to figure out the reason why you pay him $17 million to not be the coach, and then try to find someone where really there's not a lot to pick from out there that would potentially come to Tallahassee and be willing to do, like what you were talking about, Coach K, be a father figure and kind of help that team grow up. I don't love it. I don't understand it. Can you all give me some insight into possibly why it would be a good idea?
John, I appreciate your reaction to this, and I appreciate your loyalty to a program, to a coach. But quite frankly, I will tell you, give you my opinion. I think it's very questionable that Taggart was even hired at Florida State. I don't think that was a good hire to begin with. I don't, and quite frankly, that program, Jimbo didn't leave him in great shape. I admit that, but it went downhill from there, drastically downhill from there, according to what I've heard from other people. I've not been down there on their practice field or in their meetings or anything like that, I admit, but I do hear that there were many changes that were rather drastic, and some of them were cultural changes which didn't fly, and then they tried to change it back, and it doesn't work that way. Kids don't accept that. So it was in bad shape. They couldn't afford to go anymore, and as I understand it, the people that came up with the money said the money is available, but something has to happen right now. This is not a wait and see. It's this is based on him going right now. So it was in pretty bad shape, Jonah, to be honest with you. And that, as far as I know, that's the story.
It may be.
Yeah, it looked like a call just taken over there from Jonah, and he was here in the end of it. So, Jonah, I appreciate that. I hope you got the rest of what Coach was saying there, right there. We had another call coming in, and it ended up being a Google shopping network. So there you go. So, but wow. Coach, yeah, there we go. So, buy one, get ones, I heard. But, Coach, I think to your point, too, it was, and Jonah, I know you're out there listening right now, it was the culture, too. It had nothing to do with just the games. It is everything. If you ask any Florida State fan what they had built what Bobby had built for 30, 40 years of culture, it overnight have pride in your team, to not act like a bunch of hooligans, to things like that. This team had lost it. And there are some times when people don't need to speak at all. And what I mean by this is, Coach, nobody has to go out of their way to say things, but sometimes when it is so inevitable, people have to say things. This is something that Kirk Herbstreit said this week, and I'm not sure, Jonah, if you've heard this. This is what Kirk Herbstreit said when he was asked about not only about the coaching search, but about Florida State. See if we can get this queued up here and ready to go. I'll get this. It is something where it was pretty much what he went on to say, and I'll get this up here and see if we're
classy gentleman.
All right, we'll start with
Willie Taggart, who's one of the classy gentlemen, great guy. I can't imagine what he's dealing with that culture, he's trying to steer the Titanic. Forget just winning games and trying to execute offensively and defensively. These guys, Florida State, they'll knock a guy out, hit a guy after a 20-yard gain on 3rd and 15, and blow a guy up and then stand over top of him and talk crap to him. It's like, bro, it's a first down.
And he went on to say there was more to it, and to that point right there, he was saying, I don't know what I can't imagine what Willie Taggart's dealing with, but a lot of the culture with that, to Willie Taggart, to the point, is he didn't make it better. He didn't change that. Not all these players were his players that Jimbo Fisher had left at that point, but Coach, I got to say, they are. You watch them on the field, and this team is in disarray. It just is not. It's not just the games; it's the way they act that is something that had to be changed. It was every week. It was bad. They were costing themselves. They lost 5 games over the last 2 years by less than a touchdown, and in that final drive of those final touchdowns, they had allowed over 105 yards of penalties in those final drives to lose games. They were doing it by being thuggish in ways, I don't want to throw out words, but they were doing it in ways that were making them look like something that nobody wants to have their team represented by.
Yeah, I would agree, and from what I've heard, it's fairly similar to that, and it just had to be changed. That had to be made, and it's going to be made. It had to be made now. This is one that absolutely couldn't wait.
Yeah, we got Jonah back here, and Jonah, I hope you caught the end of that, but it was, to the point, yes. Was it all Willie Taggart's fault? No, but when you are the CEO, Coach knows, and if you're the head, if you're the face, and anything happens, all the blame is not just on Willie. Look, the coaching staff was bad around him. There was a lot. It wasn't all his fault. Nobody is saying that, but as the head coach, there was no writing over, 2 years that it was getting better. It was getting worse. So there's a lot of people in this country and a lot of people at every job that are decent at their jobs, and they lose their job because the ship is going down with them. And like I said, I'm not going to blame 100% on Willie, but it was getting worse every week, and it was getting to the point where you had alumni that couldn't wait anymore. It wasn't about going to a bowl game. They couldn't watch that product anymore of the way they were suffering.
No, I understand that, and I want to be transparent. I heard Coach talk about loyalty to the school and the coach and whatnot. I'm not a Florida State fan. I actually can't stand the ACC. I'm SEC for a while, all day. But I hear where y'all come from. It sounds like the argument is the Titanic is sinking. Using little beach buckets to take the water out isn't going to stop the ship from going down, which I appreciate and I didn't know. And I always appreciate y'all's insight, as always. I appreciate you taking my call back.
Well, thanks for your interest, Jonah. We appreciate it.
All right, y'all have a good day.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And that's, Coach, we could talk about this forever, but there was a reason. We're not the ones that ran down the road. We're not the ones that some lady who sells women's leggings wanted to throw $15 million towards. We're not the ones. These are people that said, we have had enough. Like, we are better than this, and we don't deserve this. And even the players on the field are actually more gifted than what they were getting. But if you show up in class, the easiest way to put this to me is the teachers that you thought as a first and second grade teacher, a kid in class where you just wanted recess and you wanted to do finger paints and do all that, the ones that taught you, though, and were hard on you and strict and taught you algebra and math and stayed the extra hours to go over homework and didn't always give you an A and a candy with a check mark, they're the ones later down in life you respect more. The ones that let you do whatever and just popped in a DVD and said, watch the Magic School Bus all day, You learn when you get older that they were just pretty much there because they're watching their paycheck and watching as the clock ticked. They didn't actually want to put in the extra effort, and you lose respect for those people a lot more. They might have been fun at the time, but Willie Taggart, from a standpoint, he had no control of his team, zero control. And at this point, it's not all him. The coordinators didn't help, but the culture, it was never going to get better. And they kept on hoping and praying every week it was, and it would get worse the next week. And at this point, it was going to happen anyway. He was going to be gone at the end of the season. They just couldn't win anymore.
Yeah, he was going to be gone. I think the decision had already been made that he was going to be gone. But what happened with the Miami game and the extent to which it had deteriorated, the decision was made. If you want the money, he has to go right now. And that's where they put the pressure on him, and that's where they had to go.
And we'll see who the next head coach is, but I'm sure it's somebody where the discipline, the structure, and going forward, Nick Sabans don't grow on trees if you have a cloning machine, but at the same time, it's going to be one that definitely is not going to be the buddy with the players, but more of the guy that's not going to take too much nonsense. Coming back, we're going to talk some more about what's going on right now in college football, also midseason awards, and the best quarterbacks in the NFL, a surprising list coming out today. It's all coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Hey, are you just gonna stand there and let people not give you credit for being a good driver? You deserve discounts on car insurance, and that's what Snapshot from Progressive is for. So why aren't you signing up? You need music to get pumped? Hit it! Drum solo! Ow, that hurts my fingers. Ow, ow.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
Tonight at 10 Eastern on CNBC, the series premiere of Back in the Game.
How much do you think you made your entire career?
About 200-something million.
I'm Alex Rodriguez. Remember Evander Holyfield? Today, his fortune is gone.
Trusted people.
Now that I'm retired from baseball, I want to give back by helping ex-athletes and entertainers get back on their feet.
I kind of feel that everything is too late.
Enough with the excuses.
From executive producers Alex Rodriguez and Michael Strahan.
This is a fresh start.
Back in the Game. Series premiere tonight, 10 Eastern. CNBC. Get yours.
The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh, my gosh. That's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk that compelling moron.
He's nothing but a lame-headed old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cow turd.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. A reminder for our Calvert's in the Heights Pick'ems contest. All you have to do is send us in your text right there at 850-623-1330. 850-623-1330. It's that simple. Just send in the score of LSU and Alabama with your name. Last week, Sam Melton with the victory right there with 27-17. He picked Georgia, Florida right there. It was only 3 points off. We had 38 people picking. We're starting it a little earlier this week, so we're going to have more picks throughout. Already a number coming in, and we'll get to those as we continue on throughout the course of the week. But all you have to do is send in your score, LSU versus Alabama, and put your name. Takes a few seconds, and you can win a $25 gift card to Calvert's right there off Scenic Highway, and also a Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, 2 free hours for 2 people right there. So can't beat that. All you have to do is send your name at 850-623-1330 with the score with LSU and Alabama. It's a 6.5-point spread. It's not moving right now, Coach. Right now, last time I checked, it is staying right around there. I think, with all being said, too, it's one of those kind of games where on the surface that does look like a lot of points. But because of the offenses, when you have a low-scoring, grinded-out 13-10 type game, that's a lot of points. But when you have two teams that are expected now to score in the 30s, it's a little bit different because you can have an incredible game and you could lose 42-35 in overtime, and Alabama ends up covering the spread. So it's a little bit different when you have offenses that can put up the firepower of what you see sometimes in the Big 12 and the Pac-12.
I agree with you totally. And it's not likely that somebody's going to reach for a field goal win.
No.
I don't think that's going to be the case. But it's probably going to be, it's got all the earmarks of being a shootout. And both teams are loaded and capable of giving that type of football game. So interesting to say the least.
And right now, when you look at Alabama, you talked yesterday with Alex Scarborough, and they're waiting on all the information. At this point, it's the Tua saga, Tua watch, I guess you would call it. Each and every week, there's something new. But he's at this point, Tua is just he's going to be back out there here soon. 3 hours ago, it said his recovery's going pretty well. They had pretty much at this point. They're going to sit there. They're going to look it over. But as of this morning, Matt Zenitz of AL.com, doing a great job, has said it looks like Tua likely isn't going to need that extra week to be ready to play. He's going to be able to be fine, and they said he's ahead of schedule right now compared to
where the rubber's going to meet the road is after practice tomorrow. Mm-hmm. He will have had the 3 toughest days of the week on a game week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So if he's doing great after practice tomorrow, I would say he's going to have a little effect. It's going to have a little effect on him in the ball game.
Do have a couple scores coming in right now, so we'll get to those. Appreciate it, guys. As Jim has picked 35-17 Alabama. LSU always looks good early in the year. So that is from Jim. Jim and maybe Jim in Tuscaloosa. Who knows? Maybe it's the same Jim.
Maybe
no,
so.
Jim, well, he's a Roll Tide fan or making a pick that, you know what, that wouldn't shock a lot of people either. I think even though every time, like I said, even though when I pick against LSU, I expect to have that delicious meal at home, maybe that steak, 12-ounce or medium rare, maybe not put away or sent to the next door neighbor's house. But when you marry a Tiger wife, you understand that. But at the same time, for Alabama fans out there, I think if this game does go south either way, just because of the environment and where it is, Alabama has a better chance to win a game by 18 than LSU would, based on the vicinity of where they're playing. Home field advantage is huge in college football, especially for a game like this. And, Alabama's done it to everybody. Every time it looks like somebody's close. There's very few teams that when they were expected to be close with Alabama have been close with Alabama. So nothing at this point from what the Crimson Tide have done over the years would shock me.
Well, everything's coming up roses right now for Alabama. Let's just take a look. Mm-hmm. Their quarterback is on schedule to play at this point. Their venue for a game is as intimidating as any, including Baton Rouge and including Clemson. Believe me, they put almost 100,000 people in there, and I'm going to tell you, it's quite something. It's being played at the ideal time to play a game, 2:30 in the afternoon, Tuscaloosa time. That's exactly when Saban wants to play. He doesn't want to play early. He doesn't necessarily want to play a night game. That's the time frame he wants to play in. That's where they gear their whole football team for that time frame. I don't think they have any other major injury problems at Alabama. I think, as we heard yesterday, they're getting some good work done with those young defensive guys that he is going to gear. Now, this is going to be an intangible that you won't be able to see in the ball game necessarily. But he will have those young guys. They're going to be game planned so tightly for this particular game and this particular team that it's going to make a difference as to how they play. Now, a lot of people don't understand that. Mm-hmm. This will not be a generic approach to a football game. This will be very specific, and because of the offense that they're using right now, I think he can really use those faster inside linebackers. They'll be more important in this ball game than they would, let's say, against an Ohio State.
And I've actually had a chance to talk to Dr. Eric Nielsen of Nielsen Orthopedics. Does a great job up the road. He worked with Andrews Institute, started his own practice. Really wanted to give a lot of opportunities where you can get a $25 $25 X-ray, $50 CAT scan, things that people couldn't afford without insurance. And Dr. Nielsen's actually the team doctor for the Auburn Tigers, but he talked about this as well. If the surgery is done with screws, folks, it's different. The tightrope surgery, you can immediately start rehabbing on it. That's why this is done. He underwent surgery back on October 20th, but he was back there running on an anti-gravity treadmill less than a week after surgery, and then returned to the practice field 10 days after that and was able to start. Then he's also been back to 3 more practices since last Wednesday going through the routine. So at this point, he's been back almost immediately compared to if you have the screws back there where if any of us had surgery, Coach, it is different. This new procedure, this tightrope, is helping guys advance and get back out there and being able to play.
Well, it certainly looks that way, yeah. And listen, the very best care is going to be given. You can bet on that.
Yes, this is pretty important. This could be worth, honestly, I saw yesterday, Forbes magazine said how much this game could be worth if one of the teams doesn't actually make the college football playoff, because whoever wins this game, and I know yesterday Ohio State came out number 1 and it had LSU 2, Alabama 3, then Penn State 4 in the playoff, whatever. This game, whoever wins this game will be the favorite according to Vegas to win the national title. That's pretty much clear.
Whoever wins this ball game will be number 1.
Yes. It will be for sure, and also be the favorite to win according to going forward. Yeah. And it could be worth. Yeah,
I have no problem with the 1A, 1B, 1C right now. Ohio State, Alabama.
Ohio State has done nothing who they've played to deserve to. They deserve to be there as well.
If you look at the ratings that came out, it's exactly what we said. Mm-hmm. Clemson's not in the top 4. Mm-mm. And they're not.
The good news, though, is they're smiling because 2 of the teams in the top 4 will lose, guaranteed, over the next 2 weeks because they play each other.
That's right.
So that's the good news for Clemson.
But one could move in there, meaning Penn State. Penn State beats Ohio State, that's a big if, but if they do, look out. I mean, they could be in there.
It's the next 2 weeks will be very exciting, and this game, the difference between this game and why getting Tua back is not just so vital for the fans and everybody that we love to root and watch the game play an armchair quarterback, but it could be the difference, Coach. I saw a report between $38 million for the school. That's how much this game could be worth based on if Alabama gets a win against LSU, goes forward to get to the playoff, and LSU doesn't, or vice versa. So you're talking $38 to $40 million. Yeah, you're going to rush a guy back pretty quick.
And I bet that doesn't include those alumni who will come up with extra money. But they have the money.
Yeah.
But they'll come up with extra money to the university and maybe the general fund, the athletic department, or whatever. But they'll come up with additional monies if you are ranked number one in the country. They just do it. It's a natural phenomenon. If you're ranked high, and Frank Brawls taught me that.
Well, heck, and that is good to know. And on top of that, if they continue to make this type of money, who knows? Because Florida State's still in the recruiting zone, maybe they'll re-buy out the buyout and send Taggart back to Florida State. So they'll use that money and say, hey, we're going to give you $17 million to keep him there as we can continue to win games and you guys go 4-8 every year. So we'll see. It probably won't happen, but that would be funny. Looking right now at what's Florida Gator fan should send in that has a lot of money right now. The inventor of Gatorade, the family of the inventors of Gatorade should send in right now. We will rebuy Willie Taggart at Florida State for double your price at $34. Coming back, we're going to talk some more of what's going on right now in the NFL. Midseason awards. Look at some of the big games this week. For Minnesota, it doesn't stop after a tough loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're right back at it, having to head to the Jerry Dome right there and take on Dallas. We'll talk some big games coming up here. Remember, you can send in your picks. Jim just sent in 35-17 Alabama over LSU. You can go ahead and send your picks for a chance at a $25 gift card to Calvert's in the Heights, as well two free hours for two people at Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range right there, doing a great job on Highway 29 in Car City. We're coming back for more right here. It's Talk Football with Coach K.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Pensacola is loaded with famous athletes, and when it comes to seeing a chiropractor for their sports injuries, there is one team they trust, Doctors Edwin Roberts. A family tradition for 3 generations, Doctors Edwin Roberts Chiropractic, next to Legendary Fitness on Mobile Highway, has helped champion athletes like Emmett Smith and Trent Richardson. Doctors Roberts specialize in relieving auto accident pain to physicals for the student athlete. The best treatment for sports injuries is prevention. Call 912-4155 for a free consultation and change your life forever.
No. This can't be it.
Mike, your team's in the lead. They just scored.
No, you don't understand. It's the last Cheez-It.
There's...
No, listen, I don't know what to do. The game's on. The score is close. There's plenty of drinks to go around. But what's the point if there's no Cheez-It snacks?
Man, if you would just...
The cheesy, crunchy, satisfying perfection. It's all gone after this. Thank you, my little delicious square.
Dude, there's more in the kitchen.
I love you.
You're still talking to the cracker, aren't you?
Cheez-It, official sponsor of the college football playoff.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It is Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante with you here alongside Coach K Stevenson. 850-623-1330 is the number. You can continue to send in your picks for our Pick'ems contest. LSU and Alabama. Give us the score and your name, and you can write a reason why. You could write Roll Tide. You could write Go Tigers. You could even write something that we won't say on air because it won't go on air. But that's up to you at that point. But at the same time, we will always have some fun making our picks each and every week for you to get an opportunity to win. $25 gift card to Calvert's right there in Scenic Highway. Great food. Try the bangers and mash. They also have I had their shepherd's pie last week. We're right down the road from there and go there all the time. Scott does an awesome job. You can watch all the games, the NFL Sunday ticket. And also, if you're looking for a nice place to get out and enjoy, the world is a crazy place out there, and you have a chance to learn how to shoot. You've always wanted to. Well, you can go down there, Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, 2 free hours for 2 people. For 2 free hours, 2 people. Sounds like a great Saturday or Sunday to me, and you can go out there on behalf of just making the picks, and we will have the winner. Coach, right now, some of the mid-season awards, I've been seeing the shows and everybody's talked about it, but want to do something a little different with our awards here, looking at some of the games, looking at some of the teams. So let's get to that now in the NFL. And let's start off with Couldn't Do It Without You award. Now, this doesn't go to, Tom Brady and Drew Brees are really good, but I truly believe, and we saw it with Teddy Bridgewater, they're also good football teams that could win and keep their record. I'm going to give you the guys that without them, they would be in shambles right now. These are your 4 choices. Russell Wilson at 7-2. They have won now games by 1 point against Cincinnati, 2 points against Pittsburgh, 1 point against the Rams, 4 points against Cleveland, 7 points against Atlanta, and 4 points with Tampa. Without Russell Wilson, this could be a 2-7 team, it seems, based on that they've won that many games by that close. Aaron Rodgers, they have 4 wins within a touchdown, and they're 7-2. Christian McCaffrey, who is involved now in a higher percentage of plays by a non-quarterback, the most of all time. He passed Marshall Faulk, and he passed Le'Veon Bell for that award. Christian McCaffrey has the Panthers at 5-3 with Kyle Allen picking up some slack, and Jimmy Garoppolo at 8-0, where this team hasn't been good at all before he got there with Kyle Shanahan, and now they're 8-0 overall. Out of those 4 choices, what is the couldn't do without you award so far in the NFL this season?
I think it has to go to Russell Wilson right now of those 4. They're all 4 extremely valuable to the football team and to their record at this point. But I would say Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Seattle's not that good of a football team.
No, they're not a bad football team, but they're not as good as the 7-2 record, I don't think.
No, they've won. I mean, they beat Cincinnati. When you're beating Cincinnati by 1, you're beating Cleveland by 4, you're beating Atlanta by a touchdown. That's not that good of a football team. That's 4 points at home against Tampa. These are games that you're expected to win. Looking at the biggest disappointment overall this season, not just a team, but the biggest disappointing story this season. Baker Mayfield at 2-6, 7 touchdowns to 12 interceptions with all the hype. The Chicago Bears, a team that was getting stronger defensively, 3-5. They've lost 4 straight now. Adam Gase, they spent more money than any other team except one team. Second highest offseason of any team, and the Jets are 1-7. C.J. Mosley's, Quinnen Williams, Le'Veon Bell's, Osemele, and they're sitting there at 1-7 and losing to the Finns, or the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn, Matt Ryan, and the culture at 1-7. The culture for teams like the Finns and Bengals were already bad, but the biggest disappointment to this season?
Of those teams, biggest disappointment to me personally is Atlanta, because I think Atlanta's a better football team than that. And I thought they were going to do much better. So to me personally, and looking at their overall personnel, it's Atlanta. But I certainly think that what's going on in New York with the Jets is terrible. And who's to blame there? You got to put a lot of it on Case.
Because we knew the Giants weren't going to be good this year. I mean, they were going to they had some injuries, and they were trying to figure out, it was going to take them a little while to develop. But Sam Darnold in year 2, C.J. Mosley was a really strong player in the middle, and it's been bad.
They should be looking more like a 50-50 football team. Maybe not all the way, but close to it.
And you're losing to the Dolphins. You're making the Dolphins look good.
Yeah, maybe like a 4-5 or something like that. But that's been a disappointment, and certainly. You picked some good ones there because Trubisky has been a disappointment to say the least, and I think his coach has also.
Looking at the time to hang up the cleats award here, Andy Dalton at 0-8 at this point for Cincinnati, and he's been benched for people that a lot of people have never heard of. Frank Gore, look, Frank has had a great career. He's played a while, but 11 carries for 15 yards last week. Pete Carroll, just because I know you want him to hang up the shoes anyway, and Joe Flacco overall. Out of those choices right there, who do you think at this point just needs to call it a day? Is ready to, besides the Pete Carroll side joke there, but overall.
Yeah. No,
you wouldn't mind that.
I want Pete to stay there and keep getting beat. But anyway, I don't know. Those are some good ones too. I think probably the quarterback there at Cincinnati may have reached his. I mean, I don't know where he's going to go. Where's he going to go?
I don't know who would pick him up either.
He may have a few years as a backup if he wants to do that. And depending on what his financial situation is at this point, we'll see what happens. But as far as a starting quarterback, he's probably has for quite a while reached the end of that.
For this award, right up your alley right here with the coach that's got it done. The biggest way right there. Sean Payton, 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater when he took over, 7-1 overall. Kyle Shanahan, 8-0 with the San Francisco team. Yes, that has a lot of young players that are really talented, but sometimes that takes a little while to build. New England, Belichick always there at 8-1, but then some other guys because of the situations they've been put in. Frank Reich, your guy right there at 5-3, and at the 2-3 days before the season starts, going with Jacoby Brissett. Kansas City, Andy Reid with Matt Moore and the way they've rallied at 6-3. Or Carolina with a backup quarterback and the injuries and a team that pretty much people had given up on all across America when Kyle Allen took the field at 5-3 as well with Ron Rivera. Out of those coaches, who do you say has done the best job coaching this season?
Wow, that's a tough one there. That is really a tough one because I think Sean Payton's done an outstanding job. I think Andy Reid has done a good job, but probably better than that would be, what they've done with at San Francisco. So tough question.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. I think if the season ended today, I believe the award would go to Sean Payton, and the reason is because if you can go 5-0 with your backup, and they had tough games too. Every week it was at Seattle, at Chicago. I mean, they played the toughest of the NFL, and they continue to win with. So to do that just on a whim with your star that people looked at, to me, I'd do that. But all those guys have done an incredible job for where a lot of people saw them. Best game so far of this season, New Orleans and Houston to kick off week 1 of the season, the Superdome, where Watson throws that touchdown pass. They came right back down the field. Lutz gets the kick. Just really entertaining. 30-28 win for the Saints. New England, Buffalo. A game that you like to see, that grinded out, physical, both teams just smash mouth. The Patriots held on 16-10, but it was your hard-fought. Buffalo got a lot of credit and respect around the nation. The New York Giants and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this was Daniel Jones' first game opportunity, came back from down 3 touchdowns to win 32-31 in the final seconds. And then Kansas City, Minnesota this week, back and forth battle with two teams fighting to inch closer to that playoff spot, and used 252 and a 44-yarder, stopping Kirk Cousins on 3rd down in a pivotal moment to win by 3 in Week 9. Out of those 4 games, there's been a lot of good ones, but those 4, and I looked at every game and looked through some of them, those seem to be some of the best watched games in some of those close battles. A lot of people enjoyed Baltimore, New England. I didn't leave it off the list as a Pats fan, but I'm just saying it wasn't the closest overall score either. Coach, out of those games, which one to you was the best one to watch?
From a spectator standpoint, I would think most spectators would take the Minnesota-Kansas City game.
Great game, yeah. A great win right there. To you, I bet the New England-Buffalo game was a really fun one to watch.
Well, I enjoyed watching it. Yeah, I enjoyed watching Brady play anytime.
Yeah.
I think he's absolutely a magician. You know, it's an interesting. We could talk about it now or later, but they talk about Brady. There was a conversation about what he might do if he retired, or would he ever leave New England and play with another team? See, I don't think he would either. I don't think he would ever do that. But and how would Belichick do without Brady? There are a lot of questions that go on there, okay? And they're all hypothetical. So you can guess whatever you want to guess. But I will tell you this, having Brady on your football team, especially for New England, because they do a lot. This was an answer I think that Chris Sims came up with, and it's true. They do so much. They do more than most anybody could do with personnel, numbers of plays, types of offense. They can change from a 1960s offense to a 2020 offense, if you want to call it that, immediately. He's like having an offensive coordinator on the field. I think he has a lot to do with the overall design of their game plans too. So I think losing Brady, I don't think it would happen, but I think it would be very detrimental for New England if they lost Brady. That's my point. So he's more than just a quarterback. There's no doubt about that.
And how about the hang up your clown shoes a moment? Does that go to Joe Flacco for his comments after the game?
Yeah, that and then our Cleveland phenom
Baker,
keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
Too.
Now he's looking like Uncle Buck, a Buck hanging out there looking homeless. I don't know. But you know what? When it's good, you got to take the good with the bad. And that's the thing is, he, obviously, when it was going good, it was fun for Baker. Right now it's not, and he's not having fun. But that's called the NFL. It doesn't always work that way. Coming back for more right here on Talk Football with Coach K.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Dude, it's game day, and I'm fired up that football is back.
I know, but I'm bummed they don't show my favorite team on TV around here.
All right, well, what about that place Calvert's? They're a really cool English pub-style restaurant, and they have a really good drink menu.
Yeah, but what about the game?
Don't worry, they have the NFL Sunday ticket and plenty of TVs, so we can watch any game that we want.
Ooh, I just looked at the menu, and that Abbey Road burger is calling my name.
Calvert's in the Heights Restaurant and Bar, 3102 East Urbana Street, calvertsintheheights.com.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It's Talk Football with Coach K. Final segment here. Coming up, it's Tomahawk Talk as Terrence A. Gross of the Gross and Schuster Law Firm will join us here to break down more. I'm sure Terrence is going to have some definitely some insight and have some fun with the new coaching search and what's going on in Florida State. It's been a busy time for Florida State and exciting time to see who the new head coach is after a disappointing loss to Miami. Joining us, as always, Coach K. Stevenson. You can hear him each and every afternoon from 12 to 1. A reminder, you can go ahead and get your picks in right now for our Talk Football right now Pick'ems contest. You can do that by sending it at 850-623-1330 is the number. Send in for a chance at a $25 gift card to Calvert's and 2 free hours with 2 people from the Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. All you have to do is put the score of the LSU and Alabama game with your name and text it in at 850-623-1330. Coach, looking at the games coming up here, and there's been a lot going on in the NFL lately, but we're coming down to the wire here from a standpoint of whether or not these guys are going to be able to be part of rosters and things like that. We talked about it shortly yesterday, but at this point, Gronkowski, you don't expect him to be back with New England, correct?
No, I don't expect him to be back with New England.
Not this year, and maybe not ever. I mean, if at this point too, when it comes to coaches, a lot of these coaches have been going through some tough pains. But is there anyone that you do not believe at this point will make it through the season? We just saw what happened with Willie Taggart. Is there an NFL coach, that enough is enough? Because currently right now, Dan Quinn, currently guys like Freddie Kitchens are still there. Is there one that you don't expect to make it through the season?
Well, most teams right now are going to try to make it through the season. But you'd have to look at the coach and the situation they're in, and if there's a bye week coming up. Mm-hmm. If they're not going to wait until the end of the season, they like to have a bye week to make that transition. I would say Adam Case is in real trouble with the Jets. I mean, they're really, really after him. And I think Atlanta could be in for a change there too. It's very likely.
I'm disappointed in Adam Gase. I thought, personally, we knew there's some bad coaches. Freddie Kitchens seems like an okay guy, but he was out of his element. That was Baker Mayfield's pick, and everybody jumped on the train. They were excited about it, but Freddie really wasn't deserving ever of the coaching. Looking at his pedigree and what he did, he played football at Alabama. And we talked to Gene Stallings tonight on the show, and he coached him, but Freddie really wasn't a head football coach based on what he had done. Adam Gase was a pretty good offensive coordinator. He was a pretty good mind, and it's just been bad. It's been brutal this year. It's been getting worse too. I mean, the way they went out.
Well, some things are beginning to show their ugly head, okay? Because the Rams had so much success with the young coach that came and did a super job, and is still doing a good job, I think. But everybody followed suit as normal with the National Football League. If one owner chopped his hand off and it did them some good, they'd all start chopping their hands off. But I don't know. Look around the league at the young guys now, and let's take a good look at what they're doing, how they're doing. It may not be working out like they wanted it to.
No, and it's funny right now. It looks like as Keith, we appreciate you weighing in. LSU 27, Alabama 16. So Keith White has weighed in as well with our Pick'ems contest there, and appreciate it there. Keith always weighing in as well, and doing a good job with social media as well. As always liking the picks. Keith, I'm waving at you right now from the thing. Looking, though, at all the different, how about Andy Dalton, though? It looks like this week there's a good chance he's, probably going to be done to a guy you've never heard of, and it looks like this is the week A.J. Green's coming back. I mean, not to say that he would have been winning all these games, but Andy, if you're Andy Dalton, you're like, come on, bro. Like, seriously, this is the week out of 8-9 weeks, just so lo and behold, this is the week that you found your way to make it back on the field, and now this is the week I'm getting benched. It's like
maybe more to it than we know.
Yeah. I mean, but because AJ is a special receiver. He really is.
Yeah, he is special. Yeah.
But the timing of that, in the locker room walking by, like, seriously, I've been throwing to Boyd and guys you've never heard of, and now you're going to come back this week. So they're done anyway. And right now they're winning the sweepstakes according to the World Wide Web, I guess you could say. for the number 1 pick, which isn't as simple as it used to be, though. The tank for Tua, even though obviously I know how you feel about that word, Coach, obvious, with now Justin Herbert in a lot of books is sitting there. Is there a guy, if you're starting a team, Herbert, Tua, or Joe Burrow, is there one better than the other, or you couldn't go wrong with any of them?
Well, let me tell you, I'm so ill-qualified right now at
Yes.
this point to make that decision. I like all three. But I would go through a major examination period and tryout period before I would make that decision.
Yeah.
Believe me. Hey, by the way, when you get Terrence Gross on, it's going to be interesting to find out how much FSU invoices him for as part of his payoff.
I'll make sure to ask him that. Yeah. Maybe we'll keep you around to see. I want to see this one. Coach, always enjoy it, my friend.
Yeah,
all right, for Coach K. Stevenson, coming up, it's Tomahawk Talk. We have a little to talk about in a coaching search going on with Terrence A. Gross.
Football is here. Catch all the UWF Argos games and the big NFL games every Saturday and Sunday on Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. If you would like to be a part of ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000 or visit our website at espnpensacola.com.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. I'm Justin Patrick, Sports Headlines. Ohio State is number 1 in the first college football playoff rankings of the season. The Buckeyes are followed by LSU, Alabama, and Penn State in the top 4. Clemson checks in at number 5 with Georgia, Oregon, Utah, Oklahoma, and Florida rounding out the top 10. The top 4 at the end of the season will meet in the national semifinals. The season is over for Panthers quarterback Cam Newton. He's been placed on injured reserve with a nagging foot injury. Newton has not played since aggravating the injury in Week 2 loss to the Buccaneers. Kyle Allen remains the starter for 5-3 Carolina. Multiple reports say the Panthers will likely move on from Newton after the season. The college basketball season is off to an exciting start. Number 2 Kentucky cut down top-ranked Michigan State 69-62 in the nightcap of the Champions Classic in New York. 4th-ranked Duke knocked off number 3 Kansas 68-66 in the opener of the powerhouse doubleheader at Madison Square Garden. The Atlanta Hawks will be without forward John Collins for an extended time. He's facing a 25-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. The NBA says Collins tested positive for growth hormones. ESPN reports he's appealing the suspension. Collins is in his 3rd year with Atlanta and is averaging 17 points and 8.8 rebounds this season. The owner of the Chargers is using colorful language to describe a report claiming the team could be moving overseas. The Athletic reported this week the Bolts could relocate to London. Despite setting up shop in LA before the 2017 season, Dean Spanos described the report in other words as completely untrue. The NFL also denies the report. The gates to the LSU-Alabama game at 2:30 on Saturday will be opening at 11:30 a.m. The university recommends to arrive well in advance to the start of the game due to the heightened security and larger crowds in order to be expedited through the security screening process at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm Justin Patrick, Sport Headlines on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. See website for full details and safety information.
One of the scariest things that can happen to a guy is that first morning you wake up, you look in the mirror, and you start to realize you're going thin up top. 2 out of every 3 guys are going to start losing their hair by the age of 35. 35! You're still a young dude at that point. You're going to start losing your hair? Then think about it. A year from now, it's all gone. And everybody used to think as soon as you start losing your hair, that's it. It's genetics. It's father time. And there's nothing you can do about it. Well, guess what? That's wrong. 4hims.com is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Prescription solutions backed by science, written by a doctor, and delivered to your door. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Go to 4hims.com/ESPN right now and get started for just $5 while supplies last. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. So go to 4hims.com/ESPN. That's FORHIMS.com/ESPN. 4hims.com/ESPN.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns. And that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
And welcome back. Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante with you here, having some fun. Yes, I'm still wearing Patriot gear. I saw the game against the Ravens, too. But we're going to talk about the big games coming up here in college football, the college football playoff rankings from yesterday. But it is Tomahawk Talk, and joining us, a guy that has done so much, a Golden Chief, and somebody that has been a big Florida State fan. He was at the game this week. It was a rivalry game. That's all I'm going to say. And we're going to get to that game coming up here. We're going to get to more on the coaching and the situation. I'm sure everybody's been waiting to hear this and talk about this since it happened, because everybody's got an opinion. I've told everybody I'm just sitting back and eating my popcorn. I posted something, and now I feel bad for doing it. It's not out of the picture yet, but no. Done with that. Joining us now, somebody that knows more than I do, because he's been there in that room with decision-making. Joining us, Terrence A. Gross, right here from Gross & Schuster Law Firm, and he was at the game this week against Miami, and that's where we're going to start. We're gonna get to some football talk first. Terrence, it's always good to catch up, and I know it's been a fun week for Florida State fans.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is to start off talking about the game itself, and then get into all this other stuff with Willie Taggart. I would love people to call in and take as many calls as we can. If you do, we may not be able to let you go on 10 or 15 minutes, but we'll do the best we can. But first of all, I went there like everybody else with high expectations. I mean, even despite the season, we knew if we could beat Miami, it puts us in the winning column. We're bowl eligible. It means we beat an in-state rival, helps us with recruiting. Just something for the team. And we had a big tailgate. The fans sort of showed up. Now, I actually had the Tallahassee Democrat. I get it every time. It's my Bible after the game. And as you might guess, you would consider the Tallahassee Democrat to be a homer newspaper for the Seminoles. Well, of course, you know what happened, folks. If you watched, we never showed up. The fans showed up, 63,000. We hold 83,000. It was the biggest crowd. It really was 64,000, really. So 64,000 showed up. We hold 83,000, and we just never showed up. It was awful. First half, 88 yards of total offense. 88 yards, 8 penalties. First half, not the game. First half, just we did not show up. 2.6 yards per offensive play. That's counting passing. Just horrible. And at some point, it does go to the coaching. You can't just keep on blaming the players or Jimbo Fisher. How many of those plays were illegal formation? Now, who's in charge of illegal formation? How about, and then here's a great, you talk about, so here's our Democrat. Here's the Homer newspaper. Who was you may know this. This was Wayne McGee. Are you familiar with him?
I've heard the name. Yeah,
I'm not even familiar with him.
No,
but he writes for the Tallahassee Democrat, so you know he's a homer.
Is he? And he's in sports. He must be new.
Don't know the guy.
Okay.
He must be the sports editor, possibly for the News Journal. Don't want to rattle this.
No,
newspaper.
last time I was at a covering the Seminoles in the media was 2 years ago. Was the last time I went on behalf of the media to cover the game. So it's been a while.
Well, he had little bullet points. Lack of discipline bites FSU. Special teams nightmare. This is our Homer newspaper. This ain't the Gator newspaper. This is the Seminole newspaper. The punter was atrocious. He shanked 2 punts. They said the punt returner DJ Matthews essentially refused to catch punts, and one ended up the 1 yard line. We had another one of those plays where we only had 10 players on the field, had to burn a timeout. Jimbo Fisher had nothing to do with that. That's not on Jimbo Fisher. That's not on the kids. It's on the coaching staff, and it's the coach. I mean, so I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think the administration definitely would have stuck with him had he won, but it wasn't just that he lost, it's how he lost. I mean, and they weren't fantastic. When we lost to Clemson, nobody really complained. It was expected. They're great. We're not. We weren't going to beat Clemson. But not to even show up against Miami, not to even have a competitive game. We were never in that game. And it's just top to bottom. 9 sacks, all-time record. An all-time school record. We broke the 8-sack record that was already set this season. So, we led the nation last year in penalties. We're on the way to lead the nation in penalties this year.
And it's all the culture. Kirk Herbstreit, he talked a little. I'm not sure you've probably seen that by now. But
I got
he
Willie
said this.
Taggart, who's one of the classy gentlemen, great guy. I can't imagine what he's dealing with that culture, he's trying to steer the Titanic. Forget just winning games and trying to execute offensively and defensively. These guys, Florida State, they'll knock a guy out, hit a guy after a 20-yard gain on 3rd and 15, and blow a guy up and then stand over top of him and talk crap to him. It's like, bro, it's a first down.
Now, that comment, I agree with what he was saying, but also when he says, I don't understand what Willie Taggart, I can't imagine what he's dealing with. That's also, no matter what, look, you have your own law firm, whether or not you had partners, whether or not 15 people work for you. If something happened tomorrow at your law firm or something happens here downstairs to that office, it goes back to the people in charge. And no matter what it is, and that's the thing is,
right.
He is the guy. He is the chief coordinator of, and so if all the culture is bad, whether or not it's not all on Willie, it isn't all on Willie, but he's the guy in charge of it, and he's not doing, and it's getting worse. So at this point, that is the responsibilities. Whether it's 100%, 70%, 50%, it is on him to make the culture better, and he's not doing it.
Well, where Herbstreit was spot on, and a lot of Seminoles got upset with his comments, but he was so right. So say we're down by 2 or 3 touchdowns playing somebody. Say we're playing Clemson, we're way down, right? And then we get a first down and hot dog. Dude, we're losing.
You're getting crushed, I know.
We're getting crushed, and you're doing this. Or we make a big stop, and then we have a late hit on the quarterback, and then we stand over them like we're a big man because we leveled there's a penalty, flags are flying everywhere. Or you get kicked out of the game for targeting. Your teammates are high-fiving you on the sidelines, and not one coach gets in your grill. Now, what happens when you do something on Alabama? Saban personally will get in your grill. In the old days, if you watched FSU, Mickey Andrews, if you did something on defense, he would have spit flying in your face like a pit bulldog. You didn't want to do that again. Forget stadium steps or whatever. And I'll tell you a word on the street. So I like this freshman offensive lineman, Lucas, right? Stud, doing a good season. But he was the kid before the game at Wake that went over to the Wake bench and was stirring up before the game. You could see him. I saw the videotape, and he's doing all that. He played in the game. Did anybody reprimand him? Do you think Saban would let that kid start the game after doing that before the game?
Even as a freshman that's been part of nothing? Yeah.
And that's a Willie Taggart recruit. So that's not Jimbo Fisher. So just this whole thing of blaming Jimbo. Jimbo did leave us in some disarray and maybe wasn't the best disciplinarian, but you just can't. I think if kids know if you're going to do this, you're not playing, you're not starting. and whatever, but and not even to get in their grill on these stupid plays and over the same stuff. So there was no improvement. So if you saw FSU play that game and you knew nothing else, you'd say, well, that's got to be the first game of the season, right, Terry? Mm-hmm. No, it's not the first game of the season, Chad. We're well into the season. It looked like the first game of the season.
And it's been that way from day one. I remember, like I said, one thing I'm blessed with, it's also a curse when you have been in marriage and other things, but I have a photographic memory, so I remember everything. And I remember, like it was yesterday, Virginia Tech, the first game of the season. First Willie Taggart approach right there was a game where they were a favorite at home and everything. And more people the next day want to talk about the Virginia Tech player that clearly fell, which was clear. He wasn't hurt. He looked over the sidelines and did that, and sort of disregard and push away that you guys got. It was a complete embarrassment to the fan base in that game that they didn't do anything right. Nothing was going well. And people at that point were saying, okay, it's his first game. Let's get. But from that day against Virginia Tech all the way to this last moment of his last final moment at Florida State, it was the same or worse. There was nothing that changed over that culture over a year and a half to 2 years. And for that, if anything, he'd been on house money for way too long. He was people were talking about the Free Willy and all the firing hashtags from day one, and it never really went away. There was moments where they would beat an NC State and people would go, okay, but that's expected at Florida State at home. That's expected from the fans. To me, one of the biggest slap-in-the-face moments from being around Florida State, and I'm not an alumni, so I'm not going to speak on behalf like you should, but when you guys celebrated on the field against Boston College and was like throwing confetti last year like it was the Super Bowl, and I'm saying beating Boston College at home should be expected. That should be expected. That should be high fives, walk out with class, and say we're getting ready next week. But they acted like they just won the Super Bowl, and at that moment, I knew it was going to be a tough time. On top of that,
but you go at the Virginia Tech, so everybody came in with great optimism. They didn't care what the color of his skin was.
No.
And we had great optimism. All the hype that went with it. He toured. I went to his thing. You were there when he came here, and Charlie Ward and
Gene Deckerhoff
and Gene Deckerhoff, all that. So, I mean, we accepted him graciously, offered him a great contract, great hopes. And he came out with really loud rap music, and that's fine. These are young players, so that makes them happy. But as we're losing, and the wheels are coming off, the rap music's going. We got players on the sidelines. We're down 2 touchdowns, and they're dancing. They're dancing. What about the game? And we're dancing. I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified, and that wasn't Jimbo Fisher. So there's mistakes he made, and I think as a recruiter, I think in hindsight, what made him a great recruiter is probably like their big brother. I think he was a big brother type of guy. He's really a sincere, nice. Nobody's ever said a negative thing about Willie Taggart. A great guy, a mentor, wants to mentor all these young men, which is wonderful. But I think you can't coach and be a big brother.
He's not a leader.
Saban is not not their big brother. Dabo Swinney is not their big brother. And there's a time to whatever, and there's a time to coach. And you can play the best players, the one that want to play, and if they got attitudes and don't want to practice hard or whatever, you move other people up. So, there are things I'm sympathetic to. He did get caught with a pretty bad offensive line. He did inherit that. He did inherit quarterbacks that were not dual threat. So we were trying to do a dual threat system with no dual threat quarterback. So that's why we saw so much wild cam in the past 2 games to make up, because Blackman can't run, and neither can Hornibrook. We know that. But anyway, at the end of the day, it was all aspects. It was special teams. You look at our turnovers. You look at defense giving up big plays. I mean, big passes down the middle with people wide open and our fast cornerbacks running them down. How many times did we see that? So I think it just – and breaking record after record, breaking a 36-year – going to a bowl record. It's not too hard to go to a bowl anymore, really. Mm-hmm. Going to a bowl used to be something. So you win 6 games, you go somewhere now.
Yeah.
So it's a mental thing, it's a money thing. And then the fans, the fan base dropping out. So people, they act like the fans turn on Taggart. It really is just the disappointing games. And you go to Louisiana Monroe, which should be a laugher. There's not a 4-star in the field. They may not have a 3-star. they probably have unrated players. And at our home, we were lucky they missed a extra point to win by 1 point. That's how we won the game. 44-45 against Louisiana Monroe. You take the fans out. The fans just didn't all of a sudden make up their minds. So they were losing the fan base, the attendance. You watch with Alabama State what the attendance is. I'd be surprised if we cracked 40,000.
I'm telling you, this week against Boston College on the road, and this is not a good Boston College team. They've had a very tough season. They're a 2-point favorite. So, I mean, that's
well,
you know.
But they did have a good last game. Interesting, they played Syracuse too. So Syracuse made us look good. They made Boston College look like world champions. So Boston College put up over 50 points on Syracuse, 691 yards. Their running back is the real deal. He's going to be playing in the NFL. So we've been pretty good. So the good thing about the Seminoles this year, other than the first few games when we tried the three-man front, once we finally got away from that, and that was coaching. That was a big mistake. We've been pretty good about stuffing the run. In Miami, we stuffed the run on them. We stuffed them, but their quarterback, who was a redshirt freshman, not the greatest, was able to get those long passes.
And it goes back to me, Terrence, and we could talk all day because this is the type of game and the situation. Florida State's been the hot topic not only here but nationally. Right. But I do want to say, after watching Georgia-Florida this week, and I was emceeing, I've lost my voice a couple times, but I've been the halls. These Coldies are really good, by the way. But I've been we were down there with Brent Lane and I had a chance. We do the Argo walk for UWF, so we announce and all the people walking by, and so we're out there at the game, and I had both games taped. So I go home and I watch both Florida, Georgia, and I watch Miami and Florida State. So more fast forwarding through Miami, Florida State, but Florida, Georgia. There was one big difference in significance in Florida, Georgia. Florida wants to be Georgia, and it was a close spread, and they were getting there. But the interior wall up front, the defense and offensive line of Georgia, they're just bigger, stronger, faster. They're better athletes up front. And football from day one when it was invented was played up front. It was a battle of the big men, the strong, the fierce. And if you look at the greatest teams from Dallas when Emmett was running behind that offensive line with just huge 330-pounders, the difference is when you look at the great teams in college football, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, obviously, the LSUs, the up front, they have speedsters all over the fields, but they win at the line of scrimmage. Florida State, it was inevitable this week against Miami, who has great linebackers, who has a solid defense, that Florida State, even though they're making strides, they're not winning the line of scrimmage battle like they did for so many years with the offensive and defensive lines that dominated. And no matter who they have, Hornibrook is not horrible, but he was running he's not fast. He's running all scrambling to try to make plays. Cam Akers is a great running back, but he can't run when you don't have a hole and two good linebackers are hitting you at the line of scrimmage. It still goes back to, even though it's improved, which it couldn't have got worse, the defense and Willie Taggart he was recruiting athletes, but he was not recruiting what wins. And it wasn't just him before that with Jimbo that left him. But the offensive and defensive lines, until those get fixed, Florida State will never be back to where they want to be.
D-line not too bad. We got two studs. We got Coopers can play in the
offensive
NFL.
Line mainly, though.
Yeah, offensive line, but and also Marvin Lewis will be playing on Sundays for sure. So, and we lost Kendo, who may or may not play on Sundays. So we lost him to an injury. So our D-line's not too bad. O-line, yeah, definitely a problem, and a lot of that probably does go back to Jimbo. But anyway, just it's not like the fans just decide to walk out, and then you go into Facebook, and people are pulling the race card, and it's just unfair. It's unfair to FSU.
It's nothing to do with that.
It had nothing to do with that. And also they said, oh, now we're going to turnstile. Who's going to come here? And I answered, here's one of my answers. Willie Taggart was the third football coach for FSU in 43 years. How many teams can say that in America? 3 coaches in 43 years. That's all we've had. And baseball, 1 coach in 40 years. Martin just retired after 40 years. Basketball, 3 coaches in over 40 years. You had Kennedy, Robinson, and Hamilton. We are very loyal to coaches. We're not a turnstile university. No. This hurt to do this. The Gators have turned over. If you saw McElwain, that was very short-lived. So look at all the coaches they've had in the past 15 years.
It's had nothing to do with race. The people that say that are ignorant, and they're not doing their homework either.
And we offered him the contract.
Yeah.
So if it's a racist university, why would you offer a black man $20-something million and guaranteed money? So it was with high hopes. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
it was just above his pay grade, really. I mean,
got embarrassed by, and when you get embarrassed by a rival, when you get embarrassed by your rivals, those are the turning points to getting pushed out the door. And Miami, Florida, their last 2 games against Florida and Miami have been embarrassing. And that I mean, from a standpoint of where they want to be.
And Jimbo never lost to them. So Jimbo never lost to any of them at all. The whole time he was there, never lost to Miami or Florida while he was there. And now just losing to Wake Forest, teams we would just dominate in our sleep. Our second team could beat Wake Forest. And now, we're struggling just with every body.
Yes.
And so the only decisive win all season was Syracuse, and they're just in the cellar. Poor Syracuse. I mean,
well, and Terrence, and as a fan and a Golden Chief and someone, the organization did not fire him. Let's make this clear for everybody saying that this was about race or anything. The organization didn't fire Willie Taggart. The fans, the ones wealthy, but the above, the ones that worked hard when they were there, the alumni fans, just like the ones yelling at the top of a mountain, the fans were the ones that fired him because they came to David and they said, we are taking care of this. And that, all the semantics behind that, there's still a lot, but the university, it wasn't as much about the buyout as the fans said, we've had enough, and they bought him out. They said, we're done, and then we moved on. I mean, that's true from a standpoint of going. We'll get to more on the games. We'll also talk some more about the next head coaching search of what's going on. And, to that point, for anybody that wants to yell that, because it's the easy way without doing, and you know how I do shows, and we're sitting here talking. In sports today, there should not be, if race is getting in the way of sports, then you haven't been watching sports, what it is. Because black, white, that is just part of the culture of the game. It was not that. Pittsburgh per capita is one of the highest Caucasian white cities in America, and they've had Mike Tomlin there for over a decade. And even in a tough year this year, he's still there. That's not what it is. It's Willie Taggart wasn't getting the job done, and it was getting worse. Has nothing to do with the race. Coming back for more right here. It's Tomahawk Talk on ESPN Pensacola.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Did you know that Floridians can stack uninsured motorist coverage? If you have 3 vehicles with $25,000 stacking UM, that equates to $75,000 in total coverage. Therefore, always choose stacking coverage if you have more than 1 vehicle in your household.
Tort Talk is brought to you by Terrence A. Gross. Call 434-3333 or check him out at grossandschuster.com.
This is Stacy on her motorcycle.
What an incredible view!
And this is Stacy off her motorcycle.
Does this have sucralose in it?
On her motorcycle.
Oh, the wind in my hair!
Off her motorcycle.
It's pronounced et cetera, not etc.
On.
Woohoo! Yes!
Off.
No.
You're better on your bike. And with basic policy starting at $75 a year, quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
It's happening. Wherever plays are being made, tickets are being sold, and fans are lining up. ADP is designing a better way to work. With industry-leading HR, talent, time, benefits, and payroll, more companies rely on ADP than any other HR partner to help step up their game. From small business to global enterprise. See how ADP can help you and your people achieve what you're working for at design.adp.com. ADP, always designing for people.
Sports Call with Davis and Justin.
Every single game, I have been wrong. I have been dead wrong. I have been so wrong.
Top sports stories, the biggest games.
With Houston's lineup and their roster, you know that they're all really dedicated. The chemistry is there, and they're hard to beat.
The weekends are made for sports. So catch Sports Call with Davis and Justin every Saturday from 11 to 1 on Pensacola's home for sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330, FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It's Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola, brought to you by the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. Joining us each and every Wednesday on the program, Florida State alum, and right now sitting back and figuring this all out with all of us here to see who their next head coach is, Terrence A. Gross. Terrence, you look right now as somebody that, the names have been out there, and I even thought, some good sources, and I never do this, but when I did that, I wanted to help people. I really wanted to help educate some people and try to say, hey, Bob is, and then I realized that probably is not going to happen. It's not off the table. And when I mean it's not off the table, because nobody knows anything at this point, and let's not be shocked ever, too, where something comes out with a report that rebuttals against the other report, and then you jump on that report, and then something else happens. Because overnight, my best friend played for the Atlanta Falcons, Laurent Robinson, and overnight he said they woke up and they look on TV, and they turn on ESPN, and Bobby Petrino was doing Woo Pig Suey for Arkansas. He was Atlanta Falcons coach, and they just overnight, he had left them without telling anybody, single soul, and he was doing the Woo Pig Suey in the morning. And 5 or 6 players were getting together like, I was supposed to have a meeting with them in the training room at this. So it can happen real quickly where even the players don't know what's happening. So at this point, I'm not going to speculate, but there have been the names. PJ Fleck looks like he's off the table. And I know we've had a number of different people we've talked about. Terrence, when you look right now at with some of the guys going up there, who would you like to see, and who are some of the names that you're hearing from being around?
I think Bob Stoops, the name that's out there, and that's the one you floated. And that rumor mill was going around from everybody. People said they saw him in Tallahassee. He denies being there. And so what makes him intriguing is first of all, he's available, which is a big deal. He's 59. I'm 65. So when I say 59 is not old, I have a perspective there. So 59 is still not too old. I wouldn't want to get somebody in their 70s, like a big name in their like even Spurrier. I mean, it's his ship has sailed, So, but with Bob Stoops, he would have gas intake. He's a disciplinarian, which we need. He's managed a big program. He's been under the limelight, so he would be a natural fit. He could recruit. That the name Stoops means something in football. If the kids don't know him, the kids' parents certainly have heard of Stoops. He's got a national title under his belt due to FSU in 2000. I remember that game too well, 13-2. But anyway, so Stoops would be a good one, and I wouldn't rule that out. The problem we have, people also here, this gets back to why now? Why did they get rid of Willie? Why didn't they let him finish the season? Well, in the old days, probably would have. But what do we have now? What has changed in the past couple of years? Early signing day. It's like, December 6th?
Yes.
So, and last year, 2/3 of the players signed. So this whole February 6th signing day has been eviscerated. And so it's really December 6th for all. And you get your leftovers. So at the end of the day, you got to be intact. So we can't just let somebody coach all the way up to November 30th and hope to sign these players December 6th. So there was no great time, really.
No.
There was no great time. Haggins has done this before, as you well remember. Haggins took over our team when Jimbo jumped boat and coached the last 2 games. So here
did a good job with Southern Miss in the bowl game.
Yeah. And he's going to have 3 games here. So he's been in the system. He's loved by the players. He's recognized. So I have a lot of confidence in Browse. A lot of people have, since this game, have been down on Browse and Hornibrook. The people that really wanted Hornibrook in, but there was one play that they captured on Facebook. I guess you saw it. It's floating around. You got 3 big guys converging on Hornibrook. I mean, he is surrounded, and you got 3 offensive linemen FSU on the ground. 3 on the ground, 3, and he's just going to get nowhere to go. So it was, and I'm glad Taggart came out after the game and defended Hornibrook. That was very admirable of Willie Taggart to step up and say this was not on Hornibrook. And he was right. It wasn't on just no time. I guess, in the pros, they got their time, 2.8 seconds, 3. You got to do whatever. I mean, we had 1 point something. I mean, he would get the ball, be running for his life. You get the ball, and there's already somebody intruding. I mean, just crazy.
And for everybody out there, stop feeling bad for Willie Taggart. And from this standpoint, you could feel bad if his name was paraded or things were said about him that weren't true. But don't feel bad that he got fired. The guy's going to get paid right now $17-18 million to sit there and do whatever he wants for the next 5. He can retire on this, whatever he wants. And he did an awful job at his job, which was this, regardless of any of us, just based on the record, the semantics, the team. So if anybody said tomorrow you can get unemployment, you could be unemployed and make $18 million and do that. Do you think anybody would feel bad for that person? So I'm not feeling, for the people like I really hurt because he was a nice guy. But you know what? It was time to go. And it was time to go a while back, and everybody knew that. Now was just the day it ended up happening. So as somebody said that, too early to go after him on it. I said, I didn't go after him. I just said, hey, it's about time, and they got it done. If you start attacking his family, his kids, those people that do death threats over kickers, come on, get a life, folks. This is, don't feel bad for him.
I feel sorry for him. I do feel, well, it was his dream job. It was from the heart. He was raised a Seminole. This was his dream job. He failed at it. He wasn't the guy that we needed for this program or at that level. If you look at his whole body of experience, he had 1 or 2 really good years at USF with an exceptional quarterback. So even at Oregon, he only coached there 1 year, 7-5. So he's got an overall losing record. So really the fact that we jumped out and paid him what we did is obscene, and it was a major mistake, and it's kind of hard to admit that you made a mistake and whatever, but it just, should he have been hired? Maybe so. Jimbo left an alert, so it wasn't like we had our pick, but he seemed okay. But he's only making $1 million at USF. He was only making $2.5 million at Oregon. We jumped to $5.5 million, and in a 5-6 year contract. That's absurd. So had we gone with $3 million and whatever, and if it was his dream job, he would jump on it, get him back to this coast. So I don't know what happened, and there's been a lot of talk about Wilcox, the previous AD that did the contract and then left. He wrapped it up and gone. I mean, just like that, and in a bow, and left us with this. So people have referred to it as a dumpster fire. Probably true, but we need to put out the fire, and the only way to put out the fire was to let Willie Taggart go, and that's painful, and it's painful for us. It's painful for him and his family because he was invested mentally in it, and the fact that he's getting $17 million, that's great, but I don't think he's rejoicing. I don't think, if I know him at all, I think he's got a lot of pain and a lot of, so the people, he's got all this money. Well, we agreed to it, folks, and we did renege. We broke the contract, so yeah, we had to pay him and so forth. But I don't think he's gleeful. He'll probably take some time off. He doesn't have any need to get a job right now, so he'll be back somewhere at some other program. We saw Charlie Strong. It's about the most similar thing, but Charlie Strong he was older, had a really good success really at Louisville with Bridgewater, and then didn't do well at Texas, and I don't think has been doing so well in South Florida either.
No, they're not doing good right now.
Yeah. So some people really have this talent. It's a God-given talent, and very few people do. That's why there's so very few successful coaches in college football. Look around. Name all the great current coaches, and you maybe could say 5. Maybe 6 from smaller schools, but of course Saban and Sweeney pop out at you. But just to have your teams ready every year and to be almost penalty-free. I watched another game with Alabama, I think it was Arkansas, and they're killing them. And somebody flinched, just a little flinch. Flag goes out, 5-yard penalty. That guy came back, and they lit him up. It's like third quarter. It's probably a second-string offensive lineman. He got an earful for flinching. And then we don't get an earful for spearing somebody.
When we come back, I want to get to more on this game. Got to take a quick commercial break. It's Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. We'll get to more on Florida State's coaching search, also the game, and also college football playoff, the rankings, LSU, Alabama, and more. It's all coming back right here on Tomahawk Talk, ESPN Pensacola.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Florida's no-fault law was passed in 1971. However, several changes took place in 2013 which negatively impacted accident victims. First, if you do not treat within 14 days, you lose your PIP benefits. Second, massage therapy and acupuncture are no longer covered benefits. Finally, if you pay for 10,000 benefits and are not EMC certified, you may only have 2,500 in coverage.
Visit grossandschuster.com.
The new Michelin silicone plates last through everything.
On a world record-breaking drive from Alaska to South America in unpredictable conditions.
Thunderstorms, ice storms, they just don't quit.
Rainier Zeitlo chose Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades with advanced Quad-Tech 4-layer coated silicone that repels water, snow, and ice and lasts 2 times longer than other blades.
It's coming down in sheets.
Real world proven. Extreme weather wiping performance. Upgrade to Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades today. Only at Walmart.
No. This can't be it.
Mike, your team's in the lead. They just scored.
No, you don't understand. This is the last Cheez-It.
There's
No, listen, I don't know what to do. The game's on. The score is close. There's plenty of drinks to go around. But what's the point if there's no Cheez-It snacks?
Man, if you would just...
The cheesy, crunchy, satisfying perfection. It's all gone after this. Thank you, my little delicious square.
Dude, there's more in the kitchen.
I love you.
You're still talking to the cracker, aren't you?
Cheez-It, official sponsor of the college football playoff.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. It is Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Joining us as always, Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. Chad Brillante with you here. As Terrence, the college football playoff rankings came out yesterday. And look, these teams, both of them, with a smile on everybody's face when they came out on this committee's decision. It was Ohio State 1, LSU 2, Alabama 3, and Penn State 4. The thing is, all of those teams will play each other in the next 2 weeks. And so there's only going to be 2 left standing at the end of November 16th that will be undefeated. And at this point, they know that. So the Clemson's being left out at number 5 for the people, that doesn't mean anything. Clemson still knows there's 2 things. Clemson wins out. They will never leave an undefeated national champion that goes undefeated in a Power 5 conference out of the college football playoff. That's just not going to happen. That'd be a mockery to not only the system. Look, UCF yelled at the top of a mountain, but we had we played teams like Memphis and SMU every week. Clemson has beaten teams like Texas A&M. They've beaten the teams across the board that they've played. However, it's going to be intriguing to see how they come up with the maybe that 4th spot or the 5th spot, because teams like Oregon, there's a lot of teams out there that feel like they still should have a shot, and there's going to be a lot of shakeup in the SEC over the next couple weeks. Georgia already beat Florida, but there's still a lot more to go with a lot of them playing each other.
A lot to go, but if you pin it down, so this Saturday is huge. This is the biggest game of the year because it's probably LSU's best chance ever to unseat Alabama. I don't even know what the point. What's the point?
It's a 6.5-point spread in favor of Alabama.
And the game is being
It's
played.
in Tuscaloosa.
Okay, that helps. Okay.
And Tua looks like he's on a recovery path to be fine. I mean, he'll probably. I mean, it's not going to be 100%. That's guaranteed. But him being on the field, he gives them a shot every game.
So it is. You have 2 quarterbacks that are going to be playing in the NFL for sure. We'll see. It'll be an interesting game. The loser, if it's a close game, the loser could still be in. The loser could still be in the national championship picture. Alabama did it before, so we have to see how the game's played. So I think it's going to be a great game. 2 fantastic teams playing each other. So you're right about that. Georgia, their destiny is now in their hands. They got to win out. Georgia Tech's going to be no problem, and I don't know who else they play. But then they have to play LSU or Alabama. Mm-hmm. So if they win the championship with 1 loss, they're in. Forget it. Everybody will forget about South Carolina. If they lose, then they're out. It'll be a 2-loss team, and they can't cry over spilled milk. It's done. Notre Dame's out. Oregon's in. So Oregon's their loss is not a bad loss. It was Auburn early, right?
Yes.
And Auburn's a good team. Auburn's a very good spoiler. Even they got to play Alabama still. So Auburn's good enough on any given Saturday to do damage to anybody. So you're right. There's some moving parts. Oklahoma. So we'll see. But right now, I don't think a 2-loss team's getting in. I think unless something really changes, a lot more bloody noses, a 1-loss team is getting in for sure.
I thought it was funny. I saw a tweet yesterday, Terrence, that said, it said, at this point, if you've been in a 3-year coma, who would wake up and realize today that Tommy Tupperville is running for a government seat, that is talking to the president, who is now a guy who is a billionaire mogul in real estate, and Donald Trump, who has number 1 in the nation right now in college football, is a guy that everybody wanted fired at one point, Ed Ogeron from their team. And also Nick Saban is running an up-tempo, quick, fast-paced offense. And on the other side, you have the only thing that remains the same is Urban Meyer is retired but still looking for a job.
Right.
I thought everything combined, it was pretty funny to break that down. But times have changed real quickly. I mean, Ed Ogeron was a coach that when people in Ole Miss and USC, everybody, interim, not good enough. His team right now is ranked number 1 in one of the polls, and they're doing good. But he's trusting, for the first time, both Coach Saban and Coach O, who know each other, are trusting that, you know what, we're putting it in the hands of our offense. These guys are that good. These quarterbacks are that good, and let them go, because they would rather play a defensive grind it in the trenches type game like they're used to. But the offenses in this game, here's a fascinating fact, both games, after LSU got shut down with Joe Burrow last year in Baton Rouge, scoring 0 points, this year their projected over-under in Vegas is 29 points in this game in Tuscaloosa with the same quarterback. That's how quickly it's changed the dynamics of how Joe Burrow's doing this year.
And you got to give the Coach O credit for picking up Burrow, a 1-year wonder.
Yes, and working with Joe Brady. He's an offensive guru, their quarterback guru.
And so he's done a great job. He's what Les Miles used to talk about, putting a fence around the state of Louisiana. If he could just keep everybody out of there, keep FSU and keep Alabama out of Louisiana, they would do just fine, because there's no other school to defend with. Mm-hmm. They don't have to compete with Tulane.
No.
So it's just them, and he's done it. He's accomplished that. So they're keeping all that pipeline of just great speed and athletes that Louisiana produces. We're in the state of Florida. FSU's fighting Miami and Florida and South Florida, and Clemson's got their share.
Jim Harbaugh comes
Georgia,
down.
Yeah, they're all coming in and getting their share. And there's, we're a very rich state, but we're probably not getting the group of athletes that Bobby Bowden was able to put together, the Deion Sanders and stuff. I mean, we had some studded classes that's just crazy.
Is there any guy, and when we look at the coaches, is there any former player? There's not one really I'm looking at up and down the board. I know E.J. Manuel spent some time on TV now, and he's been talking, but is there any former player, Warwick Dunn? Obviously, Derek Brooks is enjoying his life, and guys out there, Deion, he's more having fun out in the prime time. There's a lot of pressure to be a head coach in college football. It's a tough job. But is there any former player that you would like to see maybe one day be the next head coach?
No, because just because they're a good player doesn't make you a good coach.
It's true.
So, the one person that's coached a little bit and was a very smart player was Winky. Winky was
yes,
and he was down at IMG. I think he's in Tennessee. He was in Tennessee as an assistant at one time.
I think he was. Yeah.
But very few of our players that you named have ever tried the coaching gig. So you just can't come in, can't say, hey, I'm Deion Sanders. I'm sure he's got the confidence.
Yeah.
But coaching, I mean, you do have to have experience. And that's why on this next coach, going back to what we were talking about, when we talk, I've heard rumor mills about a couple of the assistants from Clemson. Well, just because you're a great assistant doesn't make you a great head coach. So people have experimented with that before. Some make the leap. A lot don't. So I'd rather go with someone that's been a head coach with success. So Stoops has been a head coach. He's had success. How many people like that are available?
And that's the key right now. This is a very tough process because, there are sometimes you get a coaching job that if you get the one right player or something like that you're set up for success. Florida State right now doesn't have all the signs that they're just going to leap right back into being a national champion caliber team like they were a few years back. Secondly, you're looking at you have to compete in areas where a lot of these coaches being named, like PJ Fleck or Mike Leach, they don't know this area of recruiting that well. And it's not that easy to walk into Florida in this area and compete against Saban and Kirby Smart down the road and what Dan Mullen's doing and Butch Davis even down at FIU or Lane Kiffin down at FAU or, the guys across the board. I mean, they're everywhere you look. Josh Heupel, UCF takes a lot of guys now. So there are a lot of factors to this that are not that simple. To me, there's either two things. You're coming from a smaller tier like a Mike Norvell from Memphis, it would be a leap up in his career. Or you look at a guy that, like you said, in Bob Stoops, where he's out of a job. He can do this, and it makes sense because he's sitting back and they can offer him a lot of money. That, to me, it's not going to be to me, I would be shocked if it's a coach right now that's having success at a team that is not too far away from being Florida State or at that level, like a Matt Rule at Baylor. He's not leaving. Those guys aren't going to – they're undefeated right now trying to win the Big 12 title. They're not going to pull him away today because they want somebody now to make the announcement so they can go after, like you said, the December 6th signings. They want to make that splash now. And that's why I think all of us have been sort of duped into Stoops, is because they really are pushing for him. We know that. People are pushing for Bob Stoops. That's clear. Whether they get him or whether he's going to say he's talked to them, that's beyond that's beyond my pay grade. But I'm telling you, they do want Bob Stoops. I do know the folks out there, they do want Bob Stoops. At this point, whether he'll be there, I don't think. I'm done. I'm just going to eat my popcorn and watch. That's where I am.
That's about all of us, really. And it's so hard because it's a very limited field. And I think for recruiting, it's going to have to be somebody with some type of recognition and maybe some of these contacts. So
would Butch Davis be even on the list? He
I
got
don't
in
think
trouble.
So. The one that keeps it coming up, though, and you're going to laugh, you've already mentioned, is Lane Kiffin. I've seen that come up over and over, and it's a name that comes up, but, and he was real young. He was way too young, maybe because of his dad. He probably got opportunities that a lot of other people wouldn't have gotten, but the name Kiffin meant something. Mm-hmm. So he got that. I guess he went to Tennessee first, then USC. So so he got head coaching Tennessee, and I think he's 33 years old. He was young. Mm-hmm. So way too young for those responsibilities and didn't do well. Then USC didn't do well. So did he learn something? The fact that you've been under Saban, does that all of a sudden anoint you with wisdom? And I don't know. So the guy's he's still very young.
It's a splash name. Hey, it's a name.
It's a splash name. He's the most experienced young coach in America because he's been a head coach forever, and he just always sort of lands on his feet.
I know Mike Norvell from Memphis, but I ask most people who are Seminole fans, ones that go down and watch the game at Seville, and some of the lady in her 40s or anybody like that, hey, who Mike Norvell, not everybody, unless you're a college football fan, you don't know that name. So he's a good coach, but there are names. Lane Kiffin's the kind of name that it's resonated with people, whether it's been good or bad. He's a name. So I think they need that. I think because they need the attention to be like, hey, I want to go play there. These kids, that getting a name for the future isn't. Willie Taggart was that type of name. Like, hey, yeah, we know a little bit about this guy, but it wasn't a Bobby Bowden type name or a Jimbo Fisher. So we'll see. But let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk some more on the games. I'll ask Terrence's opinion on some of the teams right now from the games like Florida, Georgia, and we'll also break down more on the hiring. Florida State will be in the news over the next couple weeks. We know that. And always great to catch up with a Golden Chief. Terrence A. Gross joining us right here on Tomahawk Talk.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Did you know there are over 100,000 lawyers in the state of Florida? Less than 2,000 are board-certified civil trial lawyers. I'm proud to say that both myself and my law partner Charlie Schuster have been board-certified for over 25 years and specialize in handling personal injury claims.
Tort Talk is brought to you by Terrence A. Gross. Call 434-3333 or check him out at grossandschuster.com.
How good are PXG clubs? Golf writers describe them as absolutely remarkable and the best golf clubs out there. Our customers call them insanely good and say they live up to the hype. So what are you waiting for? Step up your game and enjoy golf more than ever. Call 844-PLAY-PXG. 844-PLAY-PXG. or visit pxg.com to book your custom fitting. PXG. Nobody makes golf clubs the way we do. Period.
As we watch the suburban garden gnome carefully without disturbing it, we notice that it moves like not at all. It's inanimate and utterly without brain function. But despite that, when a garden gnome hears about how Geico not only saves people money, but also gives them access to licensed agents 24/7 online and over the phone, it's clear to them you should switch. Because yes, switching to Geico is a no-brainer. But on second thoughts, maybe don't watch garden gnomes too carefully. People might talk.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola is your home to UWF Argos football. Catch every game, home or away, on Pensacola's home for local sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Tomahawk Talk right here. Final segment, 154 right here on this Wednesday afternoon. Chad Brillante, Terrence A. Gross & Schuster Law Firm. And, anything, you're really the perfect guy to talk to about this. Not to say you know the answers, but when everybody thinks something's or assumes something or something's done, Terrence, in all your years of law, you know that even the cases that you thought were just, man, the word 100% is never actually that there's no such thing as 100%. And when even in law, when you think, oh gosh, that guy, what he did to Granny, or that, there always is the possibility of the other side. And and when everybody and their mama was saying, Bob's the guy, I'm reading every report, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm even getting good news from good people that I respect the heck out of in Tallahassee. And the next thing you know, Bob in Kirk Herbstreit comes out with his tweet, and Bob's not a candidate, and everybody and Kirk has no reason to put his name on that. It's not going to help. Kirk's made it to the top. He doesn't need this kind of publicity on social media to jump him in his career. So I don't think he would write that unless he'd got word from Bob or somebody that Bob Stoops is not currently right now the guy. But it's going to be very fascinating. This is one of the more fascinating hires I've ever seen. The last one, there were a lot of good names, but this one is very fascinating to who they will pick.
And another point I want to make, because people are talking and faulting FSU for such an early exit. It was a must-win game, but really, because of the early signing, we had to. There was no choice. You couldn't wait any longer. And we are losing players. They're saying, look, you're losing players because you fired Willie Taggart. We were losing commitments before.
Yes.
We were number 9 in the country last month in recruiting, and we've lost 3 or 4
And that's a huge game for recruiting right there in Miami and Florida State. Yeah.
And so we had to do something. Most of the kids are waiting to see. The few that have decommitted have actually said, I'm still considering FSU. So they're just decommitted. They're opening it up, but they haven't said, oh, we're done with FSU. We're not coming back. They're just opening up, and they'll wait and see. So I think, and I know Coburn, the AD, I've got to meet him. He's a very conservative, deliberate, methodical person. He's an intellectual. So he's not going to do a panicky, knee-jerk response. We may have done that last time with Willie Taggart. I think he's going to do due diligence. He knows whoever we hire, it's on him. It's his legacy. And he's got to find the right fit to this program. Our program does have problems. They're all fixable. I will tell you that no matter what you say about Jimbo, all the classes coming in before he left were all top 10 recruiting. Willie Taggart was real right around there. It could have been 11, but close enough on the eye test. So we have recruited very well through a very bad cycle. Since 2014, when we started going downhill, we still have recruited well. We have athletes. Do we need a few more linemen? Yes.
Well, and I think that the biggest comparison would be Florida State wants to remain Florida State, and the name and the brand still is. I mean, at UCF we joke about national titles, but we still look up, and I respect the heck Florida State's culture and what they build. Folks all over look at Florida State and Florida and Miami as the schools, regardless of what everybody else is doing around the state. The difference is right now, Florida State, there's two ways to go. They can go down the path of Notre Dame's or Michigan's, who are good, prestigious schools everywhere, but they've had their ups and downs. They haven't won titles in the past years, but they've always their name has remained on as one of the competitors. Or Tennessee. And Tennessee was a team everybody wanted to be forever, but then all of a sudden, nobody for 20 years it sat there and watched just embarrassments. Greg Schiano gets pitchforked out of town on a coaching hire. Those are the two paths, in my opinion, that Florida State has a choice. Is right now they can continue to be that name that they're not where they want to be today, but they still can be in the mix for national titles down the road, or Tennessee, by their next hire and by the way they go with their culture going forward. Well, that's how I see it from the outside.
The way I look at it is this image you're talking about is very tarnished. We are extremely tarnished for both on the field and off the field, really. So Herb Street was right. He's absolutely right. And it's no problem having swag, but just this sort of this hoodlum type persona standing over an injured player, like I'm the man, I injured him. That's just uncalled for.
Yeah.
Just all the hot dogging that you see, but so we are very tarnished. But anything that's tarnished, guess what? You could polish it up and get it back to new.
Well, Terrence, enjoyed today's show.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. For Terrence A. Gross, I'm Chad Brillante. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in to Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola.
91 FM, WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
All the dogs are counting down, about to put the anchor down. Hotty toddy, who's it gonna be? Cowbells and swamp, the Aggies wrong. There's nothing like the SEC. The weekend's full of surprise. Hit 'em with the flex. From Williams Spice to Death Valley. On the Fine Mom Show, Paul's on the roll. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul.
Alabama. It's your show. Go ahead.
He'll make sense of it all.
You got a dead burn crappy attitude.
Needles up on Rocky Top. The Razorbacks are hard to stop. War Eagles soaring in the wind.
Let me talk, Tammy.
Okay, go. Tigers rocking in Missouri. Wildcats are grinning too. Talk about the Tigers rolling in. The weekend's full of surprises. From big upsets to rivalries. On the Fine Mom Show, heads are gonna roll. If they don't get the best of me, we'll call Paul. He'll make sense of it all.
I really don't know where to go after that.
Don't take those calls.
I could give you my address and phone number if you're ever in this neck of the woods.
In my life, I've never had a phone call like that.
The Paul Feinbaum Show is presented by Regions Bank.
And a very good afternoon. It is Wednesday, and we are delighted to welcome you to the program. A lot to do today, as you can imagine. It's always one of those must-see, must-listen-to shows to react after the first college football ranking, which we all know came out last night about 9:30. And there's been plenty of reaction today, especially if you're in Clemson, South Carolina. But for the most part, LSU, surprised they are not number one. Alabama, maybe lower than or higher than some expected. Anyway, it doesn't matter because it will all change nevertheless. A lot of talking heads doing what they do best, talking today.
First college football playoff rankings.
Yeah.
I got no excuses.
Because the shock will be that Clemson's down at 5. If you're a Clemson fan, take a deep breath. Everything is fine.
You're telling me that Clemson, the reigning, defending national champions, may not get to defend their crown?
Penn State knocked Clemson in the bubble spot at number 4. They've got some wins. Key factor for their placement ahead of Clemson is their strength of record.
The only Power 5 team with a winning record Alabama's beaten is Texas A&M. I think when you're then looking at Bama, it tells me the committee's just looked at them and said, Tua and this offense, so explosive.
LSU, they are 2. It's the 3rd time the Tigers have been ranked in the top 4 of the CFP rankings.
I just think that LSU offense and Joe Burrow, they've been tested.
Ohio State debuting at number 1.
The Buckeyes this year at the top. It's the first time they've been atop the rankings. It's all going to sort itself out.
It will matter.
And they'll tell you that it will matter.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, what do you think? Ohio State's number 1. No team ranked number 1 in the initial ranking has ever won the championship. So Ohio State, nice knowing you. They were, I think, 16 a couple years ago when they won the title. LSU is number 2. Alabama 3. 12th week. SEC has had multiple teams ranked in the top 4. You expected that. Clemson 5, snaps a streak of 24 straight. There's been a lot of reaction and overreaction, and I guess I never should really be surprised. But I did First Take today with Stephen A. Smith, and I thought the guy was going to have a massive coronary with the idea that Clemson had been disrespected. We'll play some of that later for you, but. It may be one of the most epic meltdowns over nothing that I have ever been personally witness to. So Clemson is really, what has been different? Well, they played a miserable schedule. We all know that. They haven't played very well at various times, but the metrics are still pretty interesting. They only have that one win against a top 25 team. That's a deceiving number. Because teams can come and go, but they look the same on paper, but they do not look the same on the field. Well, you can make a case that Alabama's in the same spot, but Alabama, to me, numbers are deceiving because they win every game by so much. If you get hung up in metrics, you can make a case for literally anything. We don't get too hung up in that. We have a good show for you on tap. A number of guests. Lane Higgins from the Wall Street Journal. That's where we always go for our college football information. We'll talk to her in a little while. Aaron Suttles covers the Tide for The Athletic. Mario Cristobal returns to the show again. He's the Oregon coach, and he is back in the running. And one thing we always like to do the day after the rankings, we like to entertain you with Bill Hancock. Yes, we do. Also, your phone calls at 855-242-7285. Still waiting for an official announcement from Tuscaloosa on the president. All systems are go. The disruptions are going to be fairly enormous, and there's been a lot of chatter about that in Tuscaloosa. We'll update you on that situation coming up in a little while. Let's get back to the calls and start with Eric. You are on the air. Good afternoon, Eric.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you very much.
First of all, I was a little surprised with Ohio State, LSU 2, Bama 3. And what was your reaction? What did you think about the
I don't want to sound like I don't care because I do care. Right. And I talk about this all day long before even our show begins. But I'm not a reactionary when it comes to the rankings because I've been down this road before. The first rankings don't matter.
Yeah.
The committee has proven time and time again that they will move the goalposts as they see fit. So for Stephen A. and for others to go melting down over one or another, we all know the winner of the Alabama game Saturday will be number 1 next week. Ohio State won't be. Committee knows that. We know Clemson will move up next week because there's a chance that 2 of the teams in front of them, one definitely will, 2 possibly will, lose. Not a big deal.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, and by the way, I know some of you are saying, well, hey, man, we've been waiting for 9 or 10 weeks, and now you're acting like it's not a big deal. Well, it's not. it's a snapshot. Committee doesn't value what Clemson's done so far. Will they value them more when they go to NC State this weekend? No. Or Wake Forest, or play somebody from the other side? Probably not. Let's continue. More phone calls. And Shannon is up next. Hello, Shannon.
What's up, Paul? How you doing today, man?
Okay, thank you.
Hey, so interesting question for you. I think, been a lot of talk about Alabama and LSU this week and then the playoff bowls. South Carolina faces App State this week at home. Then they got Texas A&M and Clemson left. And I looked at a couple of sites that are actually predicting App State to win that game. I know the Sagarin rating is very close for the two teams. What are the chances you think that South Carolina loses out and fails to qualify for a bowl this year?
I don't think they're going to lose this weekend. And I respect App State. Don't misunderstand me, but I've seen this picture before, and it usually doesn't happen. I know it has happened a couple of times. It's already happened this year, but I sincerely doubt the Gamecocks will lose this weekend. So how many wins do they have right now? They have 4 or 5?
They're at 4 right now, so even if they beat App State, they still got to beat either Texas A&M or Clemson one.
Yeah, no, they're in trouble for a bowl game, but and that would be a bitter disappointment. But you knew it was going to be a tough season. It's been erratic. I mean, losing to NC and UNC and then beating Georgia, but from what I hear now, again, I'm not as plugged into some people. The administration there doesn't care what the final record is. They are behind Will Muschamp.
Well, I think App State's got a strong team. I watched them against Georgia Southern. Now they're coming in at 7-1. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an upset, and I think it'd be very interesting to see how it turned out. Thanks for taking my call, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, listen, I have great respect for that program. I sincerely do, but I think there's a little more pressure on App State right now because they're not sneaking up on the Gamecocks. So let's continue with more phone calls. And James is in Louisiana. Hello, James.
Hello, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. I got a quick story about Coach O, but first, I would like to tell Stephen A. Smith to get over this defending national champions. They are not the defending national champions. It's a completely different team.
Yeah, and by the way, do you know how many Stephen A. is? Most of you know he and I are very close friends. And do you know how many times I've told him that off the air? I said, Stephen A., quit saying that, but he gets carried away.
Exactly. But anyway, you'll recognize who I am in just a minute. But when Ed Orgeron, that's a silent N, was in high school, he was being heavily recruited. And an SEC coach had called, and Mr. Orgeron answered the phone, and he identified himself and expressed great interest in his son playing football for him and would love to schedule an in-home visit and meet the family and meet with Ed. Mr. Orgeron said that probably is not going to happen, but thanks for calling anyway. The coach was Paul Bear Bryant from the University of Alabama, and I don't think he was used to having no said to him.
Yeah, it's funny, James. I was on this morning with Mike Greenberg, and we had Coach O on the show, and Greeny asked him to repeat that story. And I sat there on the set as we were talking to Coach Orgeron, and I could not believe it. And I had never heard that story until 8:30 this morning, and I must admit I'm still shocked because nobody turned down Coach Bryant.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I thought made it such a great story. But Coach O went to LSU and subsequently transferred and finished his collegiate playing career at Northwestern State. But thanks for giving me the time. And remember, it's Orgeron, silent N.
Orgeron.
There you go.
I'll get it right. Hey, I've gotten it right one time. Hey, thank you. If he wins the game Saturday, we won't have to worry about the silent N. We'll just call him King. We'll take a break. More to come. We're live in New York today, and we are looking forward to talking to you.
The Paul Feinbaum Show is presented by Regions Bank. Enter the Regions Road to ATL Sweepstakes. Full details at road2atlsweepstakes.com.
Tonight at 10 Eastern on CNBC, the series premiere of Back in the Game.
How much do you think you made your entire career?
About 200-something million.
I'm Alex Rodriguez. Remember Evander Holyfield? Today, his fortune is gone.
Trusted people.
Now that I'm retired from baseball, I want to give back by helping ex-athletes and entertainers get back on their feet.
I kind of feel that everything is too late.
Enough with the excuses.
From executive producers Alex Rodriguez and Michael Strahan.
This is a fresh start.
Back in the Game. Series premiere tonight, 10 Eastern. CNBC. Get yours.
Algae. That murky green stuff may not seem very useful, but it could be the future of energy. That's why ExxonMobil and Synthetic Genomics are developing biofuels from algae, so that the trucks, ships, and planes that drive our economy could one day run on algae biofuels with half the greenhouse gas emissions of today's fuels, keeping transportation humming while cutting emissions. Learn more at energyfactor.com.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. I'm Justin Patrick with your local high school sports update. Last week was week 11 of the 2019 high school football season with 3 games going on in the area. Tate headed to West Florida to face the Jaguars on their senior night, where the Jaguars soundly defeated the Aggies 40-26. The Jaguars finished the season 3-7, while the Aggies finished their season 1-9. The Pensacola Tigers headed to Escambia to finish off their season, where they were defeated by the Gators 52-7. Escambia moved to 10-0 on the season, and Pensacola finished their season 1-9. Milton hosted Catholic in a thrilling game where the Panthers were defeated by the Crusaders 29-28. Milton decided to not go for a field goal to tie the game, instead went for 2, which was no good. Milton moves to 5-5 on the season, while Catholic finished their season a perfect 10-0. I'm Justin Patrick with your local high school sports update.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies, and rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, for a man age 45 non-tobacco user, it's $1 million of coverage at $75 per month, level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. Remember, 1-866-929-1950. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes for preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
What's up, Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, Taggart is gone. Florida State has freed Willie with the help of an alumni who has been freeing a lot of women from social media posts and worrying about how they look in pictures. Company's called Spanx, by the way. Be careful Googling that. Georgia wins at the world's largest, and Florida likes every one of the calls. Nobody told Ryan Fitzpatrick the fans didn't want Miami to win. And the Pats lost. We're moving on. And it's LSU-Alabama week, 1 versus 2. Let's ask Nick Saban one more time out to his ankle.
Now y'all scared to ask another question?
Sports Drive, 5 to 7, ESPN Pensacola.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
From the all-time leading running back Emmitt Smith to Hall of Fame linebackers like Derek Brooks, Pensacola is full of NFL legends. Well, how about joining some of the NFL legends every Sunday down at World of Beer, 200 South Palafox, for your ESPN Pensacola NFL tailgate party? It all gets kicked off at 10 o'clock. Stay around for the best games, prizes, and more at your favorite destination. It's the NFL Tailgate Show on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
Football season never ends on Talk Football with Coach K.
Stidham is tearing it up at New England. He may well be the incumbent to Tom Brady there.
Former head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Coach K brings his expertise as he breaks down the game, the players, the coaches, and the front office. Plus, high-profile interviews from the biggest names in football. Talk Football with Coach K every weekday from noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
This is the Paul Feinbaum Show on Pensacola's ESPN and local sports station, and we're on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
The Paul Feinbaum Show is presented by Regions Bank.
Welcome back. We are going to take your phone calls. We have a very special guest talking about the transformation of LSU football here in just a few minutes. Let's continue with more calls. And Tim is in Destin, Florida. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for the call.
Oh, I was calling to see, you know a lot more, about the behind the scenes with the sports agents and coaching vacancies and stuff. And you had said earlier about Gus Malzahn leaving Auburn. And I've seen the bets. Vegas has bets on who's going to be the next head coach for Florida State. And I don't think Bob Stoops or Urban Meyer, they should just kiss that goodbye. I don't see either one of them coming. But I see Mike Norvell and the Iowa State coach. I'm like, those are a massive gamble. That's a massive gamble. And Mike Norvell is pretty much Gus Malzahn Jr. Why won't they do you think Jimmy Sexton's going to make a phone call to Florida State and try to get Gus out of Auburn? Because it's not like Auburn wants him there anyway.
Listen, I'm no agent, but I do know Jimmy, and he's a smart man. He mortgaged or leveraged Arkansas versus Auburn a couple of years ago. One thing, remember something about agents. They're not emotional people. They care about one thing, getting their client the best possible deal. I mean, I know a lot of these agents of all different types of people, and in many ways, they're cold-blooded killers. I know that will probably sound the wrong way, but they care about the result. They're not concerned about anyone's feelings. They're not concerned about the process. They care about getting their guy the best possible deal. So in Malzahn's case, Sexton knows what's going on. He's a huge SEC fan. He goes to games every weekend. He talks to people 1,000 times a day. And he knows the danger of what's going to happen here if Auburn loses to Georgia and Alabama. So I'm sure he's out there working the angles. And to me, Arkansas is probably a better landing spot than Florida, because after talking to Josh yesterday from Fayetteville, JB, who has a show out there in Northwest Arkansas, I don't see very much chance that Chad Morris is going to survive out there.
Yeah, and with Gus, I think it's the time for him to go, because if he goes next year, there's a whole new offensive line for Auburn. Who knows how that's probably not going to be good. Losing the whole defensive line, and I think you would rather leave on an 8-4 regular season record with your losses being against top 10 teams.
Yeah, no, I think Tim, I think you're right. So when we had, I know some of you weren't with us yesterday, but when we had Josh Bertuccini on from he hosts the morning show in Northwest Arkansas. He said that they had 35,000 people last weekend for the Mississippi State game in Fayetteville, that the mood has turned against Chad Morris. So in that case, you would think Malzahn knows that that's an option. I mean, there's everyone's not behind him, but he would be more popular there on day one than Chad Morris. I think that's his. Listen, I'm just giving you opinions. I don't control anything but these buttons right here. I can assure you of that. Kyle is next in Greensboro. Hello, Kyle. Welcome to the show. Kyle, you there? Got to answer the phone when we go to you. Mike is up next in Tennessee. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Paul. Enjoy listening to your show most days. Pardon me, I'm a little bit under the weather. But
thank you.
Love your insight. We saw some pretty good things that I'm calling about Tennessee Vols, and we're seeing some good. We're seeing some improvement, which is great. But what are your thoughts about this weekend with Kentucky, and also the chances of us, maybe winning out and possibly getting to play in some kind of a bowl game. Paul, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think winning out is problematic. I think Tennessee can win 2 out of the 3. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. I mean, Vanderbilt is done for the year. They had that one miraculous win, and
right.
Mason went crazy like he had just solved the cure for cancer. But they're still the same cellar dweller team that they've been all year long. And to me, this weekend is critical. Kentucky's is an unpredictable team. I think Tennessee's got a pretty good shot at going up there and winning. But if they don't get this game, I think next week will be more difficult. I think next week's Missouri, isn't it?
I think so.
Maybe it's the week after. I've lost track of the schedule. But regardless of all that, I give Jeremy Pruitt much credit for stopping the bleeding. I mean, this the season was capsizing, and he did a good job of holding on.
It was early. It sure was, Paul. But we're feeling a little bit of hope here in Tennessee. And again, I want to thank you for taking my phone call, and wish you a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Andre, my good friend down there in the ATL. How are you, Andre?
Coach, listen, it doesn't matter if Eric Parseghian, John Robinson in his prime, you, or if Gus Malzahn decides to go to Arkansas. It's not X's and O's. It's Jimmy's and Joe's. It's recruiting. If you don't have the talent, it doesn't matter who's the coach at Arkansas. You're not going to win. That's just the bottom line. It all boils down to recruiting and talent, Coach Feinbaum. So, I mean, Auburn can run him out.
You made a good point, Andre. I was talking a minute ago. Person that was doing the show in Stephen A. Smith normally does his show from here, and Bob Weishusen was here. He does the Jets game, and everybody in New York is calling for Gase's firing, and he explained it to me. He said the Jets have drafted worse than any team in modern history, so it doesn't matter if Mickey Mouse is coaching the team; they're still going to get beat.
The coach is talent. Talent wins games. That's the bottom line. You know, it doesn't matter who goes to Arkansas. If you don't have talent, the same thing with Rutgers.
But do you know something, though, Andre? You do have to the problem at Arkansas right now is that Chad Morris sold the fans a lot of hope and dreams. And I'm not saying he should win the games, but they're so inept. And it's hard to make a case when someone does what he has done to remain. And I understand the frustration of the Arkansas fans. I also understand the other side. But when you decide, okay, we're going to bring him back for a third year, and 4 games into that third year, it's no better, then you've wasted a year where another coach can come in and at least start picking up the pieces and building a program. And I know Morris was given that task, but you know what? He has not delivered, and that's why he is on the verge of losing his job. We'll take a break. 855-242-7285. Ed Ogeron was in that position a couple of years ago. Not anymore. We'll talk about how Coach O saved the day down in Baton Rouge. When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates and fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes and set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why more than 3 million businesses used Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy sex, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take one capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Rush to Walmart and get Ageless Male Tonight.
Getting out of the military, I was missing this camaraderie.
It's frustrating when you try and talk to people that don't understand.
I would be talking, but I wasn't there with him. You just feel so alone.
I still had the anger, I still had the addictions, but we didn't talk about that.
Came to a point where it's like, okay, I really need to talk to somebody about this.
Family more or less encouraged me, go to the VA, you're a veteran, see what they can do to help you.
When you have family, friends, when you have the facilities like the VA and the vet center, it gives others encouragement to keep moving forward.
It's okay to go get help. It's okay to talk to people because it takes true strength to ask for help.
Talking with other veterans was the best method for learning the roadmap to success.
Hear veterans' real stories of strength and recovery at MakeTheConnection.net.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. See website for full details and safety information.
One of the scariest things that can happen to a guy is that first morning you wake up, you look in the mirror, and you start to realize you're going thin up top. 2 out of every 3 guys are going to start losing their hair by the age of 35. 35! You're still a young dude at that point. You're going to start losing your hair? Then think about it. A year from now, it's all gone. And everybody used to think as soon as you start losing your hair, that's it. It's genetics. It's father time. And there's nothing you can do about it. Well, guess what? That's wrong. 4hims.com is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Prescription solutions backed by science, written by a doctor, and delivered to your door. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Go to 4hims.com/ESPN right now and get started for just $5 while supplies last. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. So go to 4hims.com/ESPN. That's FORHIMS.com/ESPN. 4hims.com/ESPN.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh! Dilly dilly!
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
The Ice Flyers honor those who have served with their annual Veterans Appreciation Night Saturday, November 9th at 7 p.m. Veterans, active duty, and retired military service members will receive 35% off their entire party with their military ID. This discount is available in person at the box office and online at PensacolaIceFlyers.com/vet tickets. That's 35% off with military ID at the Ice Flyers Veterans Appreciation Night on Saturday, November 9th at 7 p.m.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1 is all about high school football. Catch the biggest local games every Friday night on Pensacola's home for local sports and our sister station, News Radio 92.3 AM 1620.
This is the Paul Feinbaum Show on Pensacola's ESPN and local sports station, and we're on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Well, we welcome you back to the program, and it is great to have everyone here, and we're going to welcome back a good friend of ours. We talked to Lane Higgins a couple of months ago, and she's written, I think the piece will be tomorrow or Friday.
It's in tomorrow's print edition, but it's online now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm always confused because, Lane, as you may or may not know, I come from a newspaper background where when you did the story, people read it. Now you never know when it's airing, but I did read it online, and it's a fascinating piece about how LSU was all in on beating Alabama, and they had to come up with a new way of doing it other than just talking a big game. So take us through your reporting process for those, and I would include most of the audience, have not had a chance to read it yet.
Yeah, I mean, the story started out more as just an observation of what LSU was doing on the field this year. I mean, offensively, they're a different team. They're not just running it up the gut like the LSU teams of old with Leonard Fournette, when you knew the name of one back on the team, and that was probably it, because they have three of the best wide receivers in the country probably right now, and Joe Burrow is, I believe his passing efficiency is third in the country behind Tua and Jalen Hurts, but he's attempted more passes than either of them. So it's some pretty impressive numbers that they've put up, and looking at how unusual that is, my colleague and I, Andrew Beaton, kind of sat down and said, all right, so why is this finally taking root? And, you know, there's a lot of reasons you could point to, one of which being Joe Burrow, another being Joe Brady. But I think behind that is the man that hired them, which is Coach O. And Coach O really did a great job of taking a step back from the LSU program and analyzing it and saying, look, we need to change. We can't just keep avoiding the RPO type offense and expect to win games, because everyone else in college football has changed and we haven't.
For those of you listening on the radio, obviously on television, you can see the headline of this piece. Yeah, the headline is LSU wanted to beat Alabama. First, it had to beat LSU. And Lane, there's so many different moving parts to this odyssey. First of all, nobody expected Coach O to even survive.
No, and, you know, it's funny, when you come in as an interim coach like that, you don't expect to automatically be making these big changes. You're kind of just in survival mode. And if you look at the first few games that Coach O coached in the end of the season when he was first hired as an interim into his first season as head coach, you weren't really seeing that different of an LSU yet. It really took until the end of last season and this offseason when he hired Joe Brady to really make a significant change. And I think that's sort of telling in that he waited until he had the respect of the players and the trust of the program to start kind of tweaking and putting his own mark on it.
The cynic in me wants to ask this question: how could one guy who 3 years ago was an intern at Penn State completely transform a program as big and as successful as LSU?
Well, I think it's a combination of kind of a perfect storm, where you have these players that are starting to get recruited that have different backgrounds, because even high schools were embracing RPO-type offenses. So the recruits come in, have different skills. You have a coach that's aware of that and capitalizing on it and builds a staff around him. So maybe he's the first person that had the vision, but there's a lot of moving parts that he helped put in that have done more with it. And, you know, they had analysts over the summer that were looking at, you know, is this receiver better at running it in route to the left or the right? You know, are they going to be better in this kind of coverage or that? And from that data, they were able to make more educated plays. And I think you're seeing that on the field. And that's a new kind of thinking that maybe wasn't from Coach O directly, but it's one of his, you know, lieutenants there that's thinking outside the box like he was.
What's so interesting is a lot of the comments I've heard this week from everyone, I also heard last year. On this week. And LSU was destroyed at home 29-0. And I wonder, and I realize this isn't your responsibility, but it will be after the game,
right,
to describe what happens if suddenly this fantasy tour comes to a crashing halt and nothing really changes when the scoreboard gets turned off Saturday night.
I mean, there's a lot of permutations of what could happen with how the SEC shakes out, because even if LSU loses this game, depending on how they lose, Alabama could fall to Auburn. They could, if they make the SEC championship game, they could fall there. So even a loss doesn't necessarily mean that their playoff aspirations are over. And I think there's a statistic about college football where if you have two teams that meet twice in the season, it's really rare to win both of those matchups.
Right.
So if LSU can get in the playoff with a loss, which is, I think, still very feasible, it might actually be better for them if they lose now.
Yeah, that's almost been the theme in the offseason.
Yeah.
We can still, from the fans and from the writers, LSU has a good path because until the season got going, nobody thought they were going to Tuscaloosa and win.
Mm-mm.
I'm still not sure people do, other than your fan base.
Right. And I think that there is maybe a growing population outside Baton Rouge that's a little bit tired of Alabama being so great
Sure.
that's rooting for the Tigers. But, on paper, this is just such a different matchup. I mean, you have two quarterbacks that are in the Heisman race, and you have, they're completing an insane amount of their passes. You have some of the best wide receiver talent. And for once, the SEC's defensive fronts on both of these teams are not the strong point like they were in, the game of the century when it was a 9-6 score. And I think that, this might be a different LSU team that's here because all the pieces are finally clicking at the same time. But, we won't really know until we see what kind of team shows up.
The one thing I do think is interesting is that this you have the unlikeliest genius in Coach O, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
He's never tried to act like he's anything other than just a good old coach from South Louisiana who's honored to be in that position. As you report this, disseminate it, and have a chance to reflect on it, what takeaway did you come away with about this man who we all think we know, but after reading your piece, I'm not sure I quite knew him or have known enough about him because I feel like he came off a lot smarter than I had given him credit for.
Yeah, it's hard to really know just what's going on and how many gears are turning inside a coach's head, even when you're talking to them one-on-one. But it does seem like Coach O sort of has this, I hesitate to say vision, but it seems like he has a plan, and he sort of is willing to let the people he hires do what he thinks is best and report back to him. And then from that information, he can rely on really smart analysis to make these decisions. Because I do think he's been great at surrounding himself with very adept coaches. But, it's hard to say if this is really that different of a Coach O. He was very quick to go back to his experience at USC under Coach Pete Carroll, and kind of, it sounds like he's really thinking about those teams and